a bat. Let's go!
Two-time Stanley Cup champion, your Florida Panthers. Let's go, Panthers! Let's go, Panthers! Let's go, Panthers!
No goalie, 7 minutes.
Let's go, Panthers!
No goalie with 7 minutes.
Let's go, Panthers! I don't have to go back to Edmonton!
Let's go, Panthers!
I don't have to go back to Edmonton!
Marky, I love you.
Red Cody would rise! Red Cody would rise!
I got my refund for my flight back!
Vindication!
Evan Bouchard sucks!
Go back to
Never
Edmonton!
go back in the ocean!
Canada sucks.
Evander Kane, you suck!
Canada sucks.
Meow, 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 meow,
Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the walking. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls gotta tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. You can't go one man, forget my peace. You take the west, I'll take on the east. I'ma put him in the cage, never let out the. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys. Not so tough, but mans keep walking, yeah. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls, better tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
Do we have any good video of Calle Ocho, Pots and Pans, Championship, Miami celebration? Is there any good streets filled with all sorts of Hispanics, Billy, the way it was when the Marlins won the championship? Do we have hockey fever now that we, in South Florida, the marshland, we have brought the cup back and protected the cup, and it is now, we are swamp kings of the sport again, ridiculously. How crazy are the streets out there? What's happening in the streets of Miami, Billy?
Traffic was pretty light this morning. I think maybe people were out late yesterday. That's Bird Road
that guy.
there. Yeah, that's Bird Road.
The guy with the pot on his head. I know that guy.
Yeah.
So
people were out celebrating.
Okay, look at that. Look at Hockey Town. Look at that. Look at South Florida. You said, Canada, that we wouldn't get excited about this. Look at the 12 people outside La Carreta.
That's the one on Bird Road, by the way.
Yeah, it's a Bird Road one.
Yeah.
Dozens of us.
That'd be a great place for reality to talk to people about name the Panthers goalie.
You're mocking this. That looks genuine to me. When we see Edmonton, there's 3 people outside sad. That looks genuine to me.
It looks different.
Real. I know you want this to be what you imagine in your head, that we've just awakened and we found something happened now. I'm reading in the newspaper today. We won a championship. It's not that. There's people there.
Okay.
I looked at Roy's face today. I saw a man who was out for 12 hours straight celebrating.
Yep, that's right. Got home at 3:30, went to sleep at 4, woke up 2 hours later.
Zazzlo is hungover.
Oh, cool. I mean, I don't remember a whole lot from last night, man. I am.
All right, so you're doing the show drunk. This is the drunkest.
No, I'm not drunk. I'm hungover. Like,
Okay.
there's a difference.
But if you went for 3 hours till 3 hours before the show, you might not yet be in the hangover.
I was drunk yesterday. That's hungover. Today is hungover.
I actually didn't party a lot last night. Planning for elbow room today. What am I doing here right now?
Well, I want to understand reality. Can you help me? And I'm sorry to Tony Kaladiud. Yesterday, I described him as the better Tony.
I saw that on the title, and I was like, that's probably Dan doing something foolish. It's okay.
I was foolish.
You're good. Well, I know the game plan. The thing is, I know you. Te conozco. I know you so well.
Gracias.
I know what the game plan is today. Pit one Tony against the other.
No.
They don't make them try and not like each other. Try to get Tony riled up. Tony C. Try to get
I
him riled
needed
up.
you 2 days ago when I went on the court with Juco JUCO player,
Right.
and got dunked on 10 straight times in a row. And that was fine until the only time the cameras were on were me taking 3-pointers, and I was just bricking them all over the place.
Yes,
So
that
that's
was
when I needed you.
not a great moment for you, but positivity came into town, and I will always remember that the week reality came into town, the Panthers went back-to-back, and now a legitimate dynastic conversation starts because they're better than everyone, and I see the sports books want to make Carolina a favorite or want to make Colorado a favorite next year.
What
Again?
idiots.
Well, because they fear that, Bennett's probably going to get a ton of money. It's all I heard during the playoffs. It's all I heard. Every time he scored, just cash registers. So the team's not going to be exactly the same. But, Tony, I heard some Wild Willie Wednesday in there because you were just egging on this Tony versus Tony rivalry when I have no intention of doing that.
It's going to end in a costume contest. We all know how this one plays out. Yeah.
We know exactly how this
But
plays
I didn't
out.
know I was supposed to be wearing. I still have the ticket on my shirt.
What do you mean?
I don't know. I mean,
Me?
Yeah. Is that brand new?
Whoa.
What's happening
No,
here?
this is not
He's a
brand
lifelong
new.
Panther
Yeah, I'm a lifelong fan. What are you talking about? Look at this shirt that obviously fits me perfectly well.
Yeah, that is Lewis's shirt, clearly. It's still got the tags on it so you can return it after wearing it.
Looks like an Abuela purchase
You're
right there.
going to do the whole show holding your pots and pans because.
Well, I wanted
it's like
to.
the monkey that does this thing.
Well,
right?
thank
I mean,
you,
yeah,
Riali.
yeah,
I
yeah.
appreciate it. The pots and pans celebration. I know you make fun of me for saying things are uniquely Miami.
Yeah.
In the United States, are there other places where championships are celebrated by people running into the streets with pots and pans? Yes or no?
No.
That's uniquely Miami?
Uniquely South Florida.
Because I came in here, and here is what white-gloved service we have around here with your breakfast and lunch every day. I asked for pots and pans, and our show has been so culturally appropriated by whatever American excess is, no one could find me a pot or a pan. So what I have in my hands is some sort of
That's an ice bucket.
thing you wouldn't cook in.
We're at a hotel, so it makes sense.
No, but
Checks out.
No, but you guys eat twice a day, every day, and I see people.
We don't cook, though.
Disposable stuff, though.
I see people cooking there as well, and they use their pots and pans. I thought we had pots and pans. We don't have pots and pans.
We had cereal.
We don't have pots and pans.
There's nothing to cook with. There's a hot plate.
The show has been Americanized when it doesn't have pots and pans to celebrate.
We have La Huida. Come on. That's not totally true.
I want to put in historical context here in a moment what the Panthers have just done with some people who have been covering the Panthers for a long time in Zaz and Roy. But before I do that, I need to address some in-house conflict that we have. No, it's bad, Tony. It's not. It's bad. I want you to settle what needs to happen here. Chris and Roy both want to go to the elbow room. That's where the trophy is. That's where the party is. That's the fun place to be. Roy's been flying back and forth 3 flights to Edmonton and showed up Monday morning, 6:30 in the morning, off his flight to do the show. We couldn't find Cody.
How happy is he not to fly to Edmonton today?
Yes, very. You heard
Extremely
him
happy.
shouting it. Yes. Through what is that? That flight? How many flights is it?
Well, it was 3 flights going 2, 3 flights coming back, so that's 6. And that is about, I would say, 16 hours both ways.
Okay.
Look at the patch on the jersey.
He's
though.
already
You've
got the new patch.
That's right. He's a
That's
champion.
commitment.
I
Yeah.
bought this in Game 4, by the way.
Roy's a champion. He's been working hard, and the hockey show hats are selling that he's wearing on LeBatardAF.com, and the hockey show sometimes on Friday is doing very well. Tell us about the flights again, please. I know we did this last year. It's from where to where to where to where?
All right, so this year, the flight 2 was from Miami to Atlanta to Toronto to Edmonton, and coming back from Edmonton to Vancouver to Salt Lake City.
horrible.
It was bad.
Oof.
Coño.
Vancouver to Salt Lake City. Wait a minute. What?
Yeah.
What is that flight?
Not good. That's what that flight is.
Well, how long? Okay, so that's what you came. So 6:30 in the morning, Monday, Roy comes in and you hugged him.
I went in for a big hug because I haven't seen Roy in 5 years.
He was
face
not
to
in the
face.
mood.
And he
No.
wasn't in the mood. And I sensed it, and I knew I had walked in those shoes to some extent, and I knew where he had been. And that's a tough one. Yeah. The fact that he's here today with the jersey, with the patch, I don't know what Cody's going to put out there to get in the elbow room.
Well, but they both want to go. And
I know they
and
want to go, but that's commitment right
Roy,
there.
can you tell me the nature of the disagreement, okay? I want to quit setting it up in a way that puts Chris in such an unflattering position. To be honest, Chris, looks like the elbow room. Okay, for 30,
which was part of my argument.
The reason the Panthers are going to party, they're Fort Lauderdale's team, and they love that place, and it's concrete cocaine jungle from 40, 50 years ago. There's nothing there. It's coke, concrete, and the trophy. And it's going into the ocean.
Good place.
And they love that place. And Zach Thomas one time in that place with Trace Armstrong swam out to a buoy because he was drunk and got to the buoy, and it was slippery and he didn't realize it. And then the people had to save him from drowning because bad things happen at the elbow room. But today, the trophy's going to be there, I would imagine, right? They're promising that the trophy's going to be there?
Yeah,
it was already there.
Already there.
So you guys got to get out of here then. So we got to make this decision now.
It's gone already.
Oh, they're not there anymore?
They may go back.
The party is still there, but Barkov showed up before sunrise with the trophy. It could still be there, but there was an early before dawn sighting of the cup there. But there's still a party going on there.
All right, just so to set up what's presently happening in South Florida, okay? The parade starts now. You guys made fun of us last year because it was raining torrentially and the parade was ruined. But this team does have...
Oh, it wasn't ruined. No, sir.
It was the greatest.
Well, nationally, the perception of that parade is South Florida is being South Florida again because, guys, you've seen what Canada's like around there. You see how Toronto's heart is broken. You see how Edmonton's heart is broken.
I haven't seen them celebrate.
They care deeply about this trophy that is said to be the hardest thing to win in sports. And what's weird about it is Hollywood Beach over there is filled with Canadian tourists. You will find them still with sandals and socks. They come from Canada for Hollywood Beach. Fort Lauderdale, this little patch of land, has been conquered by these champions, and the elbow room is where they go to celebrate Edmonton's burial. And it's all night, and it's all week, and it's all around the elbow room, and it's till the parade. The trophy stays here, and these players will march it around our sands and beaches before they take it back to Finland or their country where they can worship it there. But this little plot of land over here on elbow room, both of you want to go. Roy, how do we settle this argument? Because what's the nature of the disagreement between you and Chris?
Well, I think Roy is like, let's just both go. And I think Carl and I have had the thought of we want to have in this room today a good, put this in perspective, back-to-back championships, and then let's go out to the chaos. I thought that would be better. Yeah. Roy, Zaz, Panther, covering it forever, talk serious hockey. Let's go out to Chris getting it with the party. Rather
you
than
just want to go get drunk is what you just told us.
Do you think that what's better, what's actual better content for the show? Me and Zaz having a serious Panthers conversation, and then going out to Roy for the chaos at the elbow room.
No one having a serious Panthers conversation is best for the show.
How dare you?
I'm just saying.
Tony's here to cover for you
Exactly
if you
right.
want.
I thought that I
both of them. Yeah.
I want to hear from Roy today. This is not honestly. I know it just looks like.
Well, Dan asked him and you spoke over
I have
him, so
asked for zero. I really don't do this where I'm like, I want to go to do this. And I this is an assignment made for me. Like celebrating with our fans at the elbow room. Dan, I'm out here with the fans. Like I can just see it. And I just think I would crush it. And that's it. And we can go together. It's not that I don't want Roy there. I just think if I'm not here, then it's just like who's gonna talk Zaz? I mean, Zaz wants to talk some cats.
I want to talk some cats.
And I think and I want to hear from Roy today. So in my mind, the perfect show was Zaz and Roy. Putting this in perspective, now let's go out to
Well,
Chris
you're taking people behind the curtain on what it is to be the EP. Tony, can you make a ruling here before
I can?
Billy, this is the other thing that's in play, though, Chris. You had a couple of chances there to go Wild Billy Wednesday there because he betrayed you in the back, saying that you told us before the show that you just want to go to get drunk.
Well, I mean, would I partake in a beverage or two if I was there? Probably. But that's not like I want to check in with the show and I want the chaos around me.
You want me to go?
Yeah, I can go. You know, Billy, let's send
Instead
Billy.
of them?
That
I'm
would be
sick
funny.
though.
Well, so
there's the energy we
you're
need.
sick.
I didn't watch the game last night. I was
Okay.
throwing up
That's
the whole
good.
night.
That's
but
good.
they could fill me in on what happened. I had a migraine. It was a whole
good.
thing. I woke
Actually,
up this
the Panthers
morning.
won, Billy.
What happened last night?
No, I knew there might be a thing with the elbow room today, so I came in even though I threw up earlier, and I was like, I got to be a team player for my guys here. But if you need me to go on assignment, figure out what's going on.
This is not the day for Wild Willie Wednesday, I'm going to tell you. But I'm just curious here. I was thinking about this on the way in, Roy. Just hypothetically, if we had gotten just a slightly different schedule and the Panthers had won the championship tonight and tomorrow is Juneteenth, how are you feeling about me making you work on Juneteenth? Or would you even want to come into work on Juneteenth, given that the Panthers had won the?
What are you trying to do here?
Hell, I don't want to be here now, let alone Juneteenth.
What are you trying
What are you
to
doing?
do, Dad?
I'm actually saying that we got saved by the schedule. We were going to not have a show because of a national holiday on Thursday after winning the championship.
I'm aware of what you're doing here. What we have is a championship. We have it. The City of Champions is celebrating. Let's revel in that for a second. Let's find a way to get everybody in the show to the elbow room. What boundaries do you have?
Yeah, that's a great idea.
What boundaries do you have in life?
Well, because we have the show.
We could just do it live from there.
Well, that would have been planned well if we had producers who were planning things, but that's not what you guys were drinking last night.
I'm dry. I wasn't drinking.
I'd love to go to Elbow Room. I got a lot of confidence today. I don't know if you've noticed.
Send Zaz.
Yeah.
Well, Zazzlo, you should have confidence because the team
feeling great
The
today.
team is now already right now as we speak, because by virtue of what they did last night, that team is now historic. Like, just stop there. They'll have a dynasty conversation. Fine, there'll be a chance for that. But you win back-to-back in that sport. You do the hardest thing back-to-back in that sport. You're better than everyone, and you're tougher than everyone. On the road, at home, and no one in the sport would dispute, even though they didn't want McDavid stopped here, they didn't want this team to have the trophy. No one would dispute. Earned, best team in the league, no argument. Everyone will shut up now. Toronto will say, well, we were close, and it's impossible to imagine. They were down 2-0, and then they needed a Game 3 overtime. It's impossible to see from there, but you've seen the best team again proved it deserved to be champions in a season where everyone was coming for them. No one was surprised by them. Everyone was vanquished by them.
The thing that maybe was most surprising to me about this run is they got better as the postseason went on. For a team that's in 3 straight Stanley Cup finals. Like, I was concerned after Game 1 when they lost in overtime because they looked tired in that third period. They looked tired in overtime. Like, man, is this the end? Like, are they just out of gas? And they got better as not just the entire postseason went on, but certainly as this series went on. That's not. They played over 300 games last 3 years.
Oh, a buzzsaw, though, in these playoffs when I don't want to say it was easy, but it was easier against McDavid this time.
Yes.
Than it was last time where, Edmonton got a couple of games, needed overtime for both of them. They played all the styles, and Florida was better than Edmonton, and McDavid would bow his head now, and we would have the analysis of, this team with its depth just grinds you down, and at the end of a series, you don't have anything left because you've got that one line or maybe that two lines, and they've got 4 lines, and it's just going to keep going all game. But I want to talk about the idea that when we remember what this team is doing and look back at it as an all-time great in the history of South Florida, what is great about the story and already makes it dynastic to me is it begins with an 8 seed clearly behind Tampa and Boston. And no, they couldn't get past those teams through this hard route. Tkachuk gets traded after a blueprint changer. They had the best offense in the sport, Huberdeau. They blew out the whole thing. They traded for Tkachuk. And what started was this story. 8 seed. Somehow, tough and gritty makes the community love it because it gets to the final. How the hell did that happen? Best Panther team we've ever seen down here. 30 years of Radek Dvorak. Like 30 years of just never win a playoff game.
Is that the funniest name to reference in that spot?
What is the funniest name?
Olli Jokinen.
That is a good one. We could play this game.
Jay Bomeister.
Radek Dvorak is just...
Okay, but so it goes from there, right? So they fall in love. South Florida falls in love and hopes the way Knicks fans have the last couple of years. We're so close. They changed the blueprint. They're brave. They've got a good organization. They've never had that. Never had that.
You hear how all the players raving last night about the ownership?
They have. This town has never had even average hockey ownership. It has just been scammers trying to sell ice in the Everglades. It has been garbage, like bad businessman after bad businessman. They clean it up, 8 seed makes a community fall in love, hope like Knicks fans hope. And then what happens the next year? Oh, my God. 7 games, 3-0, down 0, go 3-3. This makes kids fall in love forever when you win this way.
Yep.
And then this year, they're better than everyone, and they break up New York, and they break up Tampa, and they break up Boston.
Probably breaking up Toronto.
Carolina might not break up, but everyone will laugh at them because they're going to get broken again by whatever remains of this team, even if they're made favorites, which some sports books have. Carolina is the favorite. This story is going to be an echoing all-timer in this market because of the last 3 years, the last 2 of which result in back-to-back where everyone in that hallowed sport genuflects on when you do it back-to-back, we'll remember you forever. It's better and bigger, doubling the size of what you did the first time when you gave us the best hockey series any of us had ever seen. It's the coolest.
And it was such a different experience than last year. I don't know if it's because it's the back-to-back one, but it was just because we had the whole third period to know we were winning. Last year, I was just jumping, being a maniac when we won. This year, with 5 minutes, I was just sitting back, looking around, just taking it in.
It was similar to the Heat. The Heat,
yes.
When they won against the Thunder, the entire game was a celebration. It was a party because we blew them out the entire game. And then the next year, Game 6 Ray Allen, Game 7 was tight. And we got to experience both, being on the edge of our seat and a party. And this year, it was the opposite with the Panthers. We were on the edge of our seat last year, and last night was a party.
With 7 minutes left.
Their goalie with 7 minutes.
Their coach decided, all right, this goalie thing ain't working. Let's try it without.
Well, it wasn't working. It's why they changed goalies after Game 4.
I was like, all right, let's hear him out. Let's see how this works. 20 seconds later, we put it in empty netter. I'm just okay, I don't think this worked how we wanted.
Let me ask you, were any of you thinking that I would have to pay tuition?
100.
It's
all I was thinking about.
5-0. If you told me at 5, so just so you know, backstory.
This was I walked myself into something, right? I'm searching as you put me on a Mission Impossible. I found a heaving mass of Panthers fans. Oh, you could say. I mean, they knew they were playing the oil. They knew 9-0 was a possible result. So I asked a brilliant college student what the final score would be, Zaz. And he says to me, Tone, T-Bone, iced tea, 9-0 Pants. That's what he looks me right in the eye. Said, if it's 9-0 Panthers, Dan Le Batard is going to full ride scholarship, pay your tuition for college.
I agreed to terms immediately.
Absolutely. I just knew in his heart this would be something he would want to do because the emotion, the passion for everything that is the Pantalones were just pouring out of this
Pantalones.
And then it was 5-0 with an empty net.
That's what
with
that was
5
7
minutes
left.
left.
I'm like, oh my God, we're gonna have to find that kid. It's gonna be a scandal. I'm rooting for Edmonton. I've never been a bigger McDavid fan.
It was sweaty because you can get 2-3 empty netters in no time.
I like it. It's like a Scott's Tots situation that Dan was running into.
Would you have paid for a 10-1 final?
No.
Or a 9-goal differential.
No. Billy, I understand that you are here for Wild Willie Wednesday.
I'm here to be a good teammate.
All right, no,
guy.
Chris, you guys didn't notice, Chris. I don't want you to get so hungover and self-involved today that you forget to do all parts of your job, okay? What I'm telling you is that from behind you, Billy is hell-bent on anarchy because he doesn't want the two of you to leave.
No.
Guess who becomes EP?
I think you don't want the two of them to leave because
that's what Wild Willie Wednesday is.
Here.
And so both of you should now leave.
All right, see you later.
Both of you get out of here. Go to the elbow room.
There we go.
A ruling has been made. You want it to be Wild Willie Wednesday, so it shall be. But you noticed in the background, he was offering to go to the elbow room.
Look how quick Roy got up.
Hasn't watched
he's out.
Hasn't watched the game.
He's out.
Billy there
I'm
would
not
be
biased.
funny. Billy there would be funny.
Okay, he can go too. If you you want to put Zaz in that EP chair?
Jeremy, let's go.
I'll go.
If you want to
I did
take
it last
him,
year.
look. If you want to take him, and you guys want to go, and Wild Willie Wednesday wants to go to the elbow room, have at it. I will do the show here.
How long is the drive? I've never been.
Long. It's a long drive.
It seems kind of like it seems like a dump.
This is what's going to be the deciding factor. How long is the
traffic
drive?
It's an hour.
Back.
It's
an hour each way.
It's going to be an hour there if
Who's
you don't
on the
get
show
traffic.
today?
45 minutes.
If you don't get traffic, it's 45 minutes. If there's an accident,
don't get
or,
traffic.
or
If there's
yes,
an accident, it's 2.5 hours.
It can take an hour and a half. Yes, they might just be in traffic for the next 2
You know
hours.
what? I think we
and
should
join
remix
us.
this.
Join us for the post game.
Dan, I think we should remix this. I think me and Tony should go over to the elbow.
Oh,
room.
Tony
Show
and
people what
Tony.
they want.
Drinking
Tony
contest.
back to back.
Yeah.
We have fun.
Couple
we do our
Tonys.
thing.
Whoever steals the cup becomes Tony.
I will tell you guys right now that if you can figure
We'll split
out
it.
how it is to get those people out there to produce our show in here, if all of you want to go and do the show from the elbow room, I'm now telling you I'm going live the rest of the show. We're just going live. We're going to go 4 hours of – I'm assuming that people would have been here for one of two reasons today. You tell me which one they would have been here for more, because I think this is obnoxious. Enjoyment, people don't want that. They want to tune in and see Miami suffer in tears. And the coach –
Why do you say that?
You
You
think-
wanted a Game 7 before this week even started. You were rooting for defeat yesterday.
I believe that more people would be watching and listening to this show today if the Panthers had lost than if they win. Do you think I have that wrong?
No. I think you might have it wrong. Yeah, I think you have it wrong. But more people will be listening Friday when there'd be a Game 7, than if the Panthers won last night. But today I think it's the same.
You guys don't believe. I'm not. I know every city always does the us against the world narrative, but this was.
But this really was.
This was. I mean, well, you had McDavid's
For real this
the
time.
best player in the world, and hockey. The better story, indisputably, is McDavid getting revenge, knocking off Florida, getting Florida out of the way. Florida is not as interesting to the world as McDavid would be as a rising star winning a championship. They've already won. We've done that story. Give me a new story.
But this is also still a story, though, right? Because now this is still an NHL story going into next year. McDavid, still no title. Like we did this for years with LeBron, And, well, this is the story for the NHL now. Is McDavid, when, if ever, is he going to win? Because he just had 2 chances, and the second time it went 6. He really wasn't that close.
Our audience is probably happy today, here to cheer on the Panthers, because I think there's a difference in the way that our audience perceives this team and this franchise than the Heat, because we, understandably, since the Big Three era, basically shoved the Heat down the audience's throat and the obnoxiousness that came with a team that was genuinely hated nationally. This franchise, everyone for the last 3 years got to, with us, experience a run as an 8 seed that was far less obnoxious than how we handled the Heat's run as an 8 seed. I'm looking at myself in the mirror. And then 2 championships.
We were all looking at you too, though. It wasn't just you looking at yourself in the mirror. We were all staring at you.
I was trying to
as
just,
well.
hey, hand up, my bad, It was encouraged, but I would say that this team in particular,
He's
I
right.
think
It's
our
more
audience
likable.
cares about.
I get way more tweets.
They're excited to care about this.
I
with
get
us.
way more tweets of you guys have turned
Yeah.
me into a Panthers fan
and-
than with the Heat.
Yes, and you guys, not surprisingly, wildly self-involved. So, yes, our audience, one thing. Outside
Isn't that what
of-
you asked?
No, Jeremy, no. Our audience is here either way. Our audience is always here. The people that would make it a larger audience are the people who are here to hear the arrogant Miami fan weep into their pillow scared because now there's a Game 7.
Okay, that's true. Yeah, okay, I take it back. You're right. Yes, when you put it that way, you
But
are
that's
right. Yes.
I thought it was obvious to me that the way to get the most if what you're doing is just for clicks, if what you're doing is just to amass, look, there are so many people in sports media right now doing stuff just to amass audience.
Speak their name.
Stephen A.
Attaboy.
Whoa.
Pablo. That would have been
Pablo would have been
that
probably
would have been a
smarter.
better one. Speak their name. How dare you talk to me that way? You are more confident today. What is it about you?
Feeling good. It's feeling good.
2-time champ. 4-time champ,
Billy,
really, if you
what-
include his
all
broadcasting
right,
championships.
Billy, I want to get to how bad you felt last night, but I've kept him waiting long enough, and he's pissed off now. We have not celebrated enough. Last year at this time, during a lonely parade, Greg Cody was out front. Get me that video, please, of last year of Greg Cody, who was working at this time last year, giving us a very lonely parade last year to celebrate the championship. Now he joins us on remote here, and I got to say, Chris, your dad must be feeling pretty good about himself because another year goes by, and
He's right.
And McDavid at the end. And McDavid at the end, your timing's off because you're hungover. The McDavid conversation, Greg Cody, you're feeling how right now?
I would say vindicated, but I didn't need the vindication. McDavid did, and he failed to get it. I feel really good. I've come down with a terrible cold, and I found out last night that standing on a 200-foot sheet of ice for an hour and a half does not make a budding cold get better. It exacerbates it. But I'm here for you guys. And who'd have believed that even though I was right about McOverrated last year, I would be even more right now because McDavid, I'm going to be the one to say it, I guess, he disappeared in this final. He scored 1 goal, had 5 assists. McJesus was not walking on ice water, and he is officially and certifiably continuing to be overrated, McOverrated, until he proves otherwise. And the Panthers didn't let him do it. Period. Paragraph.
Whoa! Yo, he went the extra
Column.
step. Oh my God, he went the extra. Look, once he says period, he got my attention. But when you go paragraph, that is as hot as I've ever heard him. Do you have any words for White Hat?
Oh, he's beneath my level of caring at this point because he's wrong. So's my former friend Brad Williams, by the way, the renowned comedian who went on with White Hat and took White Hat's side while at the same time admitting that McDavid needed to win a Stanley Cup to certify himself as an all-time great.
A lot of people are doing
Williams, he agreed with me, but yet he didn't, which is what everybody's doing now. Hockey fans are a cult. They're a cult, and as a cult, they are afraid to go against McJesus. They are brainwashed into having to say that, oh, he's the best player in the game. You see how fast he is? Nobody's ever been like him. Well, you know what? It's been 10 years now. Le Batard, earlier, I think you referred to him as a rising star. He should have risen by now. He's not a rising star. And guess what? Edmonton had its window, had its 2-year window, and it's not going to stay open now. He's never going to win a cup.
It has to be unbelievable.
Whoa, Zaz, hold on. Zaz. Your confidence today is overwhelming, and I don't know what to do with it. You have to lay out there. That was a bar. That's Greg Cody, as vindicated and arrogant and ego-soaked as I've ever heard him. Billy, you seem delighted. Look at him. He's snarling right now. This is as right as Greg Cody has ever felt. Now, I would argue he's exhausted. 4 lines hitting him in the face. He can only play half the game. They spent him, and so there was nothing left of him at the end. But it's because the Panthers are really good. It is not because McDavid's a choker, Greg.
No. I've never called him a choker, but he has had the inability to raise his team around him. And keep in mind, Draisaitl, Leon no title, he's supposed to be the second best player in this series, okay? He was better than McDavid on his own team. McDavid has just not had the ability to lift his team, and he was surrounded by a team that could not lift him. And they looked spent in last night's game. They came out really strong. Bob made a couple of good saves early, and after that, they were totally out of this game. It was one of the most lopsided games of the playoffs.
I thought it was going to end with 9-0 and tuition. You said disappeared, though. What's the difference between disappeared and choking?
The difference is that the Selke winner, Alexander Barkov, made him disappear. The best defensive forward in the game was on him as much as possible when you're playing a minute and change per shift. And the Panthers' defense and the depth of their team and the depth of their ability to defend all over the ice won this series and made him disappear. I don't think McDavid lost this series, but he also didn't. He also failed to win it. And his idolaters keep waiting for McJesus to appear in a robe, skating in a robe, and finally become a champion. Had a chance to do it last year, had another chance the past couple of weeks, and just didn't do it. Okay? I'm not saying he's choking, but I am saying he's failing to rise to the moment that history seems to have designated for him.
Greg, do you almost feel bad for him? I feel bad for him as someone who's a big Panthers fan. I feel bad for him because I feel like he's getting all this pressure from the outside, and the reality is he's not the one going out there saying, I'm McJesus, I'm the next Wayne Gretzky, I'm the greatest hockey player ever. It's everybody else wanting to be right about him. And the reality is he's just not that good. And there's this expectation that he's going to be the greatest thing in the world, and he's proven that he's not. So I kind of feel bad for him because people are kind of putting this on him and crowning him unjustly, and it makes things harder for him. And I'm looking now here at his contract situation. I see next year seems to be his last year in Edmonton, and then he's a free agent. It seems like this might be a basketball thing where he may need to come down to town, pull old Marchand, come down here to the Pantherland and team up with some winners, learn the winning way, you know?
Wow, I like that rumor you've just started. McDavid to the Panthers. I like that. Billy, we disagree. I don't think he's not that good.
Yeah, same.
I'm not going to go that far.
Go on.
He's a fast skater. He's got some attributes.
Oh, he does, and he has the ability.
But some
to have
holes as well, Greg, we would agree.
Like a few games ago when he slalomed through Barkov
Speed
and
skater.
Ekblad.
Yeah,
Scored
Apollo
that fabulous
Antonono.
goal.
But he's got, but Greg, we can agree, there's some holes in his game, yes?
There's holes in everybody's
Yeah,
game. Nobody's
exactly.
perfect. I will say McDavid is overrated, and to Billy's point, Billy's always on the mark with stuff like
Go
this.
on.
To Billy's point, McDavid's not out there saying, I'm the greatest ever.
Mm-hmm.
Wayne who? It's others who are putting that on him.
But they say
Okay,
it to
so
him in press conferences, and he doesn't push back. He's kind of like, yeah, that's a good question.
Okay, but so live up to it, McOverrated. Live up to it. That's all I've been saying for the past couple of years. My bandwagon still has plenty of room, by the way. I'm not feeling a lot of love for my he's McOverrated opinion.
Go on.
Maybe now people are going to come on board. I don't know.
You going to go on with White Hat today? I heard he wants you on.
There's a possibility.
Don't dignify him with your presence. You're not going on his show, are you?
Well,
Don't do that.
You know, I asked a counsel of mine, someone whose opinion I respect, whether I should do it or not, and I was told I should do it. So maybe I will.
Well, wait a minute. Hold on a second. I'm with Billy on this. You defeated White Hat.
Yeah.
White Hat should not get the clicks if Cody goes on his grounds to gloat because Cody gets to be right and he wants desperately the stage of being right. Make him come on your turf. He called you a senile old man. That disrespect's still there. Whether
Well, he was on my show last week, so I gave him the courtesy of allowing to explain how senile I am. He came on. I gutted him like a fish, and now he wants me on his podcast. And I'm thinking of reciprocity. I'm thinking of doing the nice thing.
An
for
old
this
home
kid
and
in the
home.
white hat.
He's a senile old man.
Do you mean an old home and an old home? Was that on purpose? Because he's using you. White Hat's using you to get in the game. He was beneath you, and now he's not anymore. And you're right. And at the end, like he called you a senile old man for your take that is right.
He's a senile old man.
Yeah, well, that's true. But he did he did sort of cower and apologize on my podcast last week. Go check it out if you haven't heard it yet. But he's just a kid. He's a green kid. Wet behind the ears, whatever all those sayings for green, inexperienced kids are who shouldn't be calling accomplished journalists senile old man. But I put him in his place, and now I'm thinking of deigning to be on his podcast today. We'll see how that works out.
I'm going to just blow through the clocks here today and just stay on live for 4 hours to celebrate whatever it is that we're celebrating down here because everybody's in today. We've got a big personality in reality. He has dominated the week, and he gets all the credit forevermore in South Florida for bringing positivity down here, immediately resulting in a back-to-back championship. He brings Zaz greatly hungover, but more confident than I've ever seen him.
I got it going on today.
I mean, he does. You guys have had what are you laughing at, Greg?
Yeah, what are you laughing at, Chuckles?
What does that mean? I got it going on? What does that mean, Zaz?
I feel great. I don't know. Look at me, listen to me. I feel great today.
He feels like a champion. He is a champion journalist, but he would not call himself a champion around the Panthers, Greg, because he's just a fan of the Panthers.
Yeah.
But he did save their season by sacrificing.
That's true.
Sacrificing his vacation.
Won 4 out of 5 when I came home,
because
Dan.
his team needed him, and he ended a family vacation early. Because
sometimes you got to take charge.
Yeah, putting his beloved Panthers ahead of his family. I get the priorities on that, Zaz.
Well, everyone's happy today, aren't they?
Yeah.
Maybe a little respect you show my way.
I see you're wearing your champion shirt, once again displaying what a neutral journalist you are.
Well, I mean, it's the way it is today. I mean, get with the times. Live in the now, Cody.
Wait, Greg, what did I see outside of your house yesterday and I commented on?
Okay. We have a little Let's Go Cats placard at the corner of our house.
That's early.
No. And why is that? because Greg Cody lives with someone else in this house who's a big Panthers fan.
Still not a good look.
It's my wife, and
Thought it was
she
Jumpin'
is a
Charlie.
Panthers fan. We had this thing that she had brought home from a game a couple of weeks ago, and she asked me to put it up in the yard.
So
and I
you
did.
put it up. So there could be a photo out there of you putting it up.
Yeah, because paparazzi are all over my house looking for me putting up a "Let's Go Cats" sign on the corner of my yard. I will say this. I will admit this.
Go on.
Although I am not a Panthers fan in the way that Zazzlo is, wearing a champion shirt today, it does feather my McOverrated argument that the Panthers not only won, but won the way they did by making McDavid disappear for 6 games. So even the game he scored a goal, he just had a quiet series, and the Panthers turned him quiet.
Greg,
turned
I
him
don't
silent,
understand
muted him.
Greg, I don't understand what kind of insult you think it is that a Panther fan is wearing a Panther shirt today.
Well, you're a journalist, right?
I am a journalist, but journalists are also sports fans.
Yeah, but generally they don't wear the shirt of a team.
Says who?
It says me.
Well, you're not in charge. I got news for you.
It is news.
Says other journalists.
Yeah, but I mean, you also
Breaking news from this journalist. You're not in charge.
Do you have a placard on your lawn? Do you have a Go Panthers placard on your lawn?
No, that'd be ridiculous.
Okay, so Tim Reynolds.
Lousy fan, Zaz.
Tim Reynolds. Well, so you're a good fan?
My wife is.
No, but you're hiding behind that. That's a good costume you're wearing.
Yeah, if you can picture my wife out there with a hammer and nails putting up a placard in my yard,
you put it out
go
there.
for it.
You
If
put
I
it.
had a hammer.
A hammer and nail.
Well,
It's like one of those in the ground.
Yeah, whatever.
Wait a minute. I can't picture you doing it either, Cody. All right, hold on a second. Hold on. Stay right there. I'm going to break for a minute, see if I get rid of your son, but we're going live for 4 hours. Stay there, Cody.
Illinois Letterman with a sandwich for laughs.
So honestly, thrilled to be doing this with you because I have admired your work. You are just such a sculptor. You're an artist as a comedian. It's sort of the
Why? Thank you.
well, the craft of it. It's such a hard way to make a living, Jay. I don't even understand how you make a living that way. I really don't. You have to be demented to choose. You know what? I'm going to laugh my way to the top. I'm going to take the expectation of funny, and that's how I'm going to get rich. Get out of here. It's crazy.
It seems sort of second nature to me. You know, I think it's one of those things. If it's what you like to do, it just comes. You know, I remember when I was in college, I'm dyslexic, so I would get out of any sort of written things, and I was taking speech therapy. And I remember the professor said, now at the end of the class, each student will have to give a 20-minute talk. And people went, 20 minutes? Oh my God, I get done. I thought, I'll do it right now. I'll talk for 20 minutes. Yeah, let's do this. You know? So it just struck me as funny.
But you could be funny in an instant? You knew that this was something...
No, not funny. I had to give a 20-minute talk. I mean, I didn't have routine. I wasn't a comedian yet, but it just seemed natural. I mean, I always read that getting eaten by a shark and public speaking are the two things most people are afraid of, you know, that kind of stuff.
But not you, right? Like that, you didn't need attention, right? An audience just didn't scare you, right? Even though you were dyslexic, even though...
No, it didn't scare me. You know what's interesting? A lot of people don't realize, you remember the Smothers Brothers, right?
Yes.
Well, Tommy Smothers was dyslexic, and they were folk singers, but Tommy would get the songs wrong. You know, Michael, boat the row is short. No, it's row the what? And they made it part of their act. And that's kind of how they became a sort of funny comedy singing team, you know?
How do you watch stand-up comics? Because I imagine you are watching not just to laugh, but to see where the comic's insecure, where the comic looks off stage or looks at his feet. I imagine.
No, not really. I watch it just to enjoy it. You know, I like comedy. I enjoy watching comedians. You have to be careful when you're a comedian because someone does a joke and then you realize you never want to be on stage and that subject comes up and your mind immediately goes to that person. So you have to be careful not to try and take somebody else's material. You know, that's sort of the biggest trick. A lot of times you don't want to watch comedians do a routine on a particular subject because if you're developing something along the same line, oh, now you can't do yours because it's too close to theirs or whatever it might be. But no, I watch it. You know, it's like I like to make love, but I don't want to be a gynecologist. You know what I mean? So I enjoy it just being, you know, just being around it and being with comics. It's always fun.
You came up through the pipeline of where stand-up comedy was born, right? Like, I mean, you're almost at the roots, Jay. I mean, I don't know if it's Pryor and Carlin, but coming up through the LA comedy circuit, coming up through the comedians, when you were writing with David Letterman for J.J. Walker, right? Like coming up through the Comedy Store, can you take me through the path of what you imagined your career was going to be and how it is that you arrived in? Like, I can't even imagine getting from there to the Tonight Show.
Well, I'm a huge believer in low self-esteem. I think it's the key to success. If you don't think you're the smartest person in the room, you're more likely to listen and pay attention. I mean, when I was doing the Tonight Show, I constantly meet people who were geniuses. People say, you know, my client is a genius, but the people at the network were afraid he'd be too good.
This episode is presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
A handful of amazing things that will pass for the analysis of the game action last night, just so that you have some context on what it is was just completed. Tim Reynolds points out that the Panthers have won 2 cups in 358 days. The Maple Leafs have won 2 cups in 22,333 days. You have McDavid in games 6 and 7 last year. He was +1 and 0 points. McDavid in games 5 and 6 this year, to Greg's point, -5 and 1 point. Connor McDavid is the only player in NHL history to have 9 straight 90-point seasons but not win the Stanley Cup in any of them. And then this in Greg Cody's column. I have written and said for 2 years that McDavid should not be called McJesus or the next Gretzky or given GOAT status because he is a king without a crown. Look at him swigging confidently before we even get going. He's ready because I'm reading his words as poetry, and he's never been more right. The senile old man wrote in the Miami Herald, an ancient tablet from another time. I have written and said for 2 years that McDavid should not be called McJesus or the next Gretzky or given GOAT status because he is a king without a crown. The Panthers again have verified my claim and served to underline my admittedly harsh criticism. The nickname for McDavid is just McOverrated. Look at him, standing from on high like Michael Jordan after making the 6-3 against Portland, shrugging his shoulders because he can't believe how amazingly right he is.
Greg, is it the proudest you've ever been about like a column or a sports opinion that you've written?
I have to admit, Zaz, I'm not proud of it because I created a lane. Nobody else before or since has sort of jumped on board and said, you know what, he was right. And people still are slow to say it because of that hockey cult I mentioned earlier. But there's no question that by how I define overrated, he absolutely is. And like I say, I feel more right about that now after this series than I did a year ago when it went to 7 games.
Well, if I can offer just some bit of context here, because we are, like, that's going to end up being the condensed analysis that I don't think is fair to McDavid because of what I'm about to say. In this series, I know it was a 6-game series, and I know that Edmonton won 2 of the games, but it could have easily been a Panther sweep, right? Those games, like, they were played the way Edmonton wanted to play them, and then by the end of the series, we were no longer playing the way Edmonton wanted to play. However, over the course of the series, the Panthers led for more time than anyone's ever led in a series before. Like, it went 6 games, but Edmonton was trailing for all but 33 of the minutes in the games. Like, this is an all-time dominance by an all-time team. It was very much done to McDavid. When he says it's not a choke, it's Barkov happened to him. Because on the third line, they've got another guy they're talking about like Baby Barkov because he sees the ice the same way, and he's also a two-way player. And McDavid's great, but the Panthers have more of them. The Panthers are 15 deep, it feels like, and they just flogged the 2 players that Edmonton had.
The Panthers are confidently playing their fourth line, and you're barely seeing
How many
Edmonton's
times
fourth
did you
line.
say last night, amazing shift from the fourth line?
It's just like
I said it 3 or 4
wild.
times last night. And that's the thing, like home ice advantage in the playoffs, what home ice advantage is that, and Chris will be able to tell you this, you get last change, okay? Last change
Except the second period.
is an actual home ice advantage where Paul Maurice can make sure Barkov is on the ice as much as possible when he sees McDavid is on there because the Panthers get last change. But here's the thing. It's not that, or it wasn't that big of a deal for the Panthers, even in the road games, because you got these 3 lines. And it's like, okay, if we can't get the specific matchup we want, it's okay because we're so confident in our top 9 forwards that we can just roll these guys out. And that's what you saw, especially as the series went on, man.
Calling McDavid overrated after losing to this specific Panthers team the last couple of years, it would sort of be like what the reactionary thing would have been if after Oklahoma City lost to the Big 3 Heat that you called Kevin Durant overrated. Now, to say that on the show, we have done that.
He has no rings. Yeah.
He was also a lot earlier in his career than McDavid is, I believe.
For
at
sure,
that time.
for sure.
was
He
in
was
his
early
4th
in
or
his
5th
career,
year.
but he was still well on his way to being not only one of the faces of the league, but it was obvious that he was going to be a legend in the league. And maybe if that had happened 4 or 5 years down the line, sure, you could have started having those conversations. But to me, this is just an obvious example with the stats Dan laid out. One team being a whole other galaxy ahead of the other.
You know, last year, after the Panthers won last year, we all would have sat here and said McDavid is definitely going to win a Stanley Cup at some point in his career. Have we changed that opinion after seeing him lose again?
Greg said he wouldn't.
I was scared of him the entire series, and then by the end, I had no reason to be.
So, Greg, I don't want to get you excited, and I don't want to be accused of starting rumors, but I will say this. Yesterday, Steve Levy, we all know Steve Levy, reputable voice of hockey, correct? Would we
I
agree
know
on
that guy.
Yeah.
Would you agree he's a reputable voice? Yesterday,
Yeah, he's great.
He was on Jim Rome, and he said, quote, "There's a lot of talk within the sport that if they don't win this year, McDavid might look elsewhere." Greg, I think now's the time you start printing up some McJudas shirts and have them ready to go for a year from now.
Yeah, I'm already putting lighter fluid on your incendiary breaking news, really, by Billy that
Go on.
that McDavid may end up in a Panthers uniform.
Is this as right as you've been compared, Greg Cody, to how the most wrong you ever were, which was the column you wrote trading Dan Marino that then resulted in you doing an interview from in front of the Miami Herald in which we had to distort your voice and also silhouette you like a whistleblower in the interview because you were so ashamed to show your face?
You know about that reality?
I saw the column when I walked into the office.
How
this
hard did
week.
you laugh when you saw
I read
that?
the whole thing, and I'm aware of it. Now, I will serve at the altar of Greg, so I'm not here to cast stones at one
What
column.
a ridiculous
And,
column,
It
though.
was a ridiculous column.
Marino!
Marino
you,
and
Tony.
Mitchell. Yeah, so I'm not here to cast. And this whole conversation, the pride that Greg feels, I want to know the pride that Chris feels in having a dad who could be. Well, there's the Marino trade. Yes, it's the unthinkable.
Scott Mitchell!
Scott Mitchell. I mean, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
You don't know what haul you would have gotten for Marino, too. I mean, in fairness, he didn't bring any Lombardis down to Miami, so.
Thank you, Billy. Thank you, Billy. That trade Marino column, by the way, in retrospect, is now surrounded by perfume. It has aged well. The trade Marino column.
Well, that's 93, and if I remember correctly, Mitchell had a good Thanksgiving game for the Lions soon after that, where he was operating at a high level. I don't think that column is put it in the office bad. I don't think it is. I think it's nice to see in the office. I appreciated laughing at it, but I'm not going to call that the worst column in the history of the Miami Herald.
Thank you.
You're looking at Dan. Do you have one in mind?
What a compliment.
I only rank Dan's PTI appearances as the worst in ESPN history. That's all. They're on the internet, Dan. I didn't invent this. The worst odds makers of all time, if you go to YouTube right now. You and Skip Bayless? Come on. That was the low point in odds maker history, PT. We don't need to have that conversation.
You did
I want to get back to
Skip
pride. Yes, he did. I was there. I want to get back to the pride. Chris feels in having a father who got everything right and is now seeing things ahead of everybody else.
Honestly, I am impressed with him because I have felt the pressure the last 2 years of the cult my dad speaks of. I've been afraid to agree with him on Connor McDavid because if you do it, all hockey fans attack you. So I will give him credit because everyone has always kind of couched it with he's an idiot for saying it, but he does need to win a title. So you get to be right, Dad. I am proud of you for this take.
And by the way, I want to just note, almost parenthetically, that in the first 2 games of this series, McDavid had 4 combined points, 4 assists. In the final 4 games of this series, when his team needed him most, he had 2 total points, a goal and an assist. That's when he really disappeared, is during crunch time in this series. I also want to say one thing about how good this Panthers team is. Okay, Bennett wins the Conn Smythe, right? There were 5 or 6, legit. There were 5 or 6 players Can I
stop you for just a second here, Greg? Just because we're this deep into the show, and this is the first any of us would be mentioning of somebody just scored 4 goals to separate themselves from everyone else and give a trophy that Marchand was going to win if he scored those 4 goals. But again, first mention. I'm not kidding when I say this. When I tell you. Will hockey fans remember the 4 goals scored to end McDavid to win a second championship? There aren't a lot of times in hockey history you can point to a guy winning the Conn Smythe at the end because he scored 4 goals in the clincher, and we could have 5 other guys that we would say also played almost close to as well.
Right. Well, two of Reinhart's goals were empty netters, but not taking away from a 4-goal performance. And Reinhart is one of those 5 or 6 players who very easily could have won the Conn Smythe. One of them, again, is Bobrovsky, who I thought was fabulous almost all of this playoff run.
I wanted him to get that shutout so bad.
I know. Most fans did.
Look at this. The saddest goal. That was the saddest goal ever. I didn't even know what happened.
It was.
I was like, just like, wait, they scored? Oh, there's a 1 up there now.
But let me tell you why Bobrovsky did not finish higher in the Conn Smythe voting than he did.
Go on.
The reason is that Florida scored 94 goals in 23 playoff games, more than 4 per game, and the average was higher than that in the final series. Florida had a 2-0 lead just about every game. They led in the last 5 games of this series. The pressure on Bobrovsky was really lowered because this team was so relentless offensively, as well as playing terrific defense. This final result is not the least bit of a fluke. The hugely better team won and made the best player disappear.
Bigly.
Get out of here, Greg. Good talking to you. You've been vindicated. Congratulations. Billy, do you have any advice for him before this White Hat podcast? Put up on the screen, by the way, we've dented the most historic and hallowed trophy in sports already. It's been in our hands
We've already dented
12 hours. We've dented the thing. That's obviously outside the elbow room. That's how it's looked for 50 years.
Why does the guy even bother with, the gloves and, wiping it down after people touch it? It's such a waste of his time,
Kachuk,
honestly.
Right? That's Kachuk?
I don't know. That could be Forsling.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I think the shipping container is going to have to offer Kachuk an apology. He said after the game he tore the abductor off the bone and was dealing with a hernia on the same side of his body, so he was able to play.
That's how he started the playoffs and then played and said got healthier
he got
as
better.
He played.
Yeah.
He's like, I started to get healthy.
As he got used to it.
Yeah.
He got used to the hernia.
Tore the adductor off the bone and also a hernia. Greg, good talking to you. I think Mike Ryan described that as banged up. We expect him to get out there even though he's banged up. Tony, you were right to point out the positivity of father and son, Chris Cody.
A beautiful thing, guys.
Chris Cody is very happy today. And Cody, I'm going to allow you now to go to the elbow room.
How about that?
Wow.
You see? All it took was praising your dad a little
What a
bit.
reward.
And this is what happens. Positivity begets positivity.
And thank you, Tony, for bringing the positivity of a championship
You're
upon
welcome.
arrival. The elbow room somehow, and this I didn't think was possible, about to get pinker.
Can you talk to me about the elbow room a little bit? As somebody who is from out of town, and now I'm seeing images of what looks to be a bomb shelter.
Yeah,
And I'm not really feeling
it is
what it is.
minimalistic partying, and the story I was trying to tell you before about Zach Thomas that I sort of rushed through is that athletes who represent Broward County and like to be Broward people aren't necessarily Dade people, wherever it is that Miami is divided here, and culturally and nationally. Or culturally and historically, Wayne Huizenga sort of separated the line between Miami and Fort Lauderdale, and he built something sports in Fort Lauderdale that was for, like this Panther team and like Zach Thomas and Trace Armstrong and Jason Taylor before him, for two different Americas. There's Dade County America, and then there's Sawgrass Mills, Broward County, Fort Lauderdale America. Ours is crazy ethnic. Fort Lauderdale is largely super white. The elbow room is the epicenter and soul of 50 years of white spring break partying from, I don't know, I'm going to say Frankie Valli's time, whenever spring break was popular in the 70s. I'm not even. So for 50 years, the elbow room has been a concrete slab where people party and do things that are not to be talked about and are to be forgotten as soon as you get outside of the realm of whatever that devil death bin of excess is.
It's so great that right after the game, everyone's just tweeting out from all over the country, elbow room's going to be lit tonight.
The Stanley Cup official account asked if Matthew Tkachuk was bringing the trophy back to elbow room. But to defend Broward County and our diversity for just a second, a plurality is white. 33% white, 31% Hispanic, 27% black. So, there's some diversity, just a different type of diversity.
Improving diversity. And yes, I'm saying Huizenga a long time ago. My information is somewhat dated. It's changed.
I mean, I also count as Hispanic, so.
Yes, Jeremy. Jeremy sound Hispanic to you? Put it on the poll. If you met a Jeremy, would you think he's Hispanic? At Le Batard Show.
My name was almost Ephraim. Would that have helped? It's my grandfather's name.
Mejor, no?
So
am I? If we had Mike here, I don't think any of these guys are veterans of the elbow room. But Zazzlo's got it right. It's just dirty white excess for 50 years. It's not It's
a Buffalo Bills bar during the NFL season. Like that's the type of slice of South Florida you're getting.
But also, I'm guessing the seats are still concrete and it hasn't been updated in 50 years
since the day it was built.
Yeah.
No shot. It's sticky everywhere.
Right, so you still got the Jägermeister on the floor, and you're sticking to the floor when you walk through. I got you.
Spring breaks for 50 years have washed against that thing, and it still stands. All the venereal diseases, all the drugs.
And it's spring break every weekend there. Like, whatever you think spring break in Fort Lauderdale is, it's happening at the elbow room every single weekend.
Look, you guys see that what's happening in the world and how dangerous everything is. The only things that would survive a nuclear holocaust in South Florida are the elbow room and Drew Rosenhaus.
That place is going to be awesome today because last year, no one really thought about it. It's like, oh, whoa, the cup is at elbow room. Let's go. And now everyone just knows. Everyone is going. I would imagine it's really crowded right now, where compared to last year, Tkachuk arrived with the cup, and it's like, there were not that many people there. Then all of a sudden, we got word of mouth, and people showed up.
That's what happened. Tkachuk ran into the ocean with the cup. People heard and then went, and now it becomes a thing. Because last year was Barkov in the streets with the cup, denting it in a golf cart. This is what the story I was beginning to tell you about the elbow room is. So it's where Dolphins would go drinking during the day on a weekday, and Larry Izzo and Zach Thomas would think it smart to try and race to a buoy deep in the ocean. And Izzo would crap out and Zach would get there and not realize that the buoy is slippery and he's exhausted and someone's going to need to rescue
So we
him.
almost
Or the
almost
middle
lost that
linebacker
comment,
for the Miami Dolphins is going to drown and nobody's going to have an explanation. And the explanation is going to be the elbow root. That's what it's like. That's it. Like, how can you imagine? Dolphin dies at sea. Cause of death, the elbow room.
Just show them a picture of the place. They'll understand.
So Roy and Chris are headed out there, and now Billy is in charge, air traffic control, and I'm worried about what Wild Willie Wednesday is about to become. But Zazzlo, where did you party? How did you party? And you weren't able to get into the game because you lost an unfortunate bet that I don't remember what it was
that's
about.
what happened. I thought we were deciding whether to choose which child is going, but the bet superseded all that.
I lost. You know, it was supposed to be Shea Gilgeous-Alexander was supposed to get points,
34,
rebounds,
5.
assists
Yeah.
over 49.5. He ended up with 43. My younger son was so mad. He was so
your
mad.
degenerate gambling resulted in the Suns.
Yeah, them not being able to go to the game, but that's okay. That's okay. So we watched the game last night at the Zazzlo Mansion, in the Zazzlo Mansion family room. Me, my 2 teenage boys, my father. We had 3 generations of Zazzlos because we won a Stanley Cup in the Zazzlo Mansion family room last year with that crew. My father came over again. We all watched together, had my neighbor, his son. So we had a good crew, all right? We ran it back from Game 5 because that's the group that won Game 5, so we had to have him back last night to win Game 6. And we had a great night. There was, I'm pretty hungover today. It was a lot of action in the Zazzlo Mansion family room last night.
I don't know where Mike Ryan is today because I'm imagining that this is the team he cares about the most, right? More than the Heat, maybe.
Well, Hurricanes. Are we counting Hurricanes?
Okay, probably Hurricanes now because he's invested, but Mike's career in this industry began interning for the Panthers. And so when Tony can speak to what it is to grow with something, right, in a way that connects your lifetime to choices. Mike Ryan chose a life in sports despite the terrible experience he had with management of the Panthers.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's interesting that made him love the team so much because they had horrendous management and they were a horrendous team.
But it's where his love of sports began, and it's where it started the journey toward making a career in this or thinking that you could. And so he'll forever be grateful to this team, and I think he cares about it more than the Heat that way.
He started liking them when they were good again.
Well, that's true.
He was also blinded by the Marchand this season. They just couldn't get past it. And that's an unfortunate thing. What I'm trying to observe here, just as an outsider, is, well, now we got 2. And this game, in the end, wasn't even close.
It wasn't.
And now there's something about Zazzlo. We were saying you have a puff in your chest today,
man.
and it's almost like this is old hat.
The shirt fits better.
Yeah,
he looks different.
It's got a glow to me.
Is this becoming
glad you noticed.
Too familiar? Yeah.
No, it's something that I can get used to.
Yeah.
I can get used to all this.
I was wondering that too, Tony, because Zaz probably experienced this differently because he was working for the Heat or with the Heat or however you want to say it at the time.
For the championships,
right?
Yeah.
So at the end of the Big 3 run, the people won't admit this, but I'll tell you, I'll shoot you straight. At the end of the Big 3 run, there was a bit of championship fatigue. Year 4, there was kind of people were not as excited about the Big 3 and LeBron anymore. The games were still sold out, but the tickets weren't as hard to get as they were before. It was an easier ticket to score. You could go to the games. You could see them if you wanted
inventing
to.
side quests. And it's not just about the championship. It's about one particular route that we can do. Yeah,
You're just expected to be in the finals every year. You went 3 straight. This is where the Panthers find themselves exactly where the Heat were after year 3. 3 straight appearances in the championship round, 2 straight championships. Now you're going potentially for a three-peat. But there was a feeling there with the Heat that I'm wondering if there is for the Panthers here.
It's not the same because in the NBA, the NBA is not like that now. I mean, we're going to have 7 consecutive unique champions in the NBA. But back then, we all knew at the start of the season, the Heat are going to be in the finals. The Heat are going to be in the finals. The Heat are going to be in the finals. The Panthers, no matter how good they are, we'll go into next season. I can't sit here and say the Panthers are definitely going to be back in the Stanley Cup final.
That's the charm of this team, though. Again, you guys are living it, you're breathing it. I'm watching it from afar. I'm seeing a team that I don't know if they're the best team on the ice. I don't know it until I see it with my eyes. And now I'm going to say some stuff about Greg Cody here that I wouldn't say to his face because he should be crowing the way that Greg's going to crow. But I don't think McDavid is overrated. I think this is the worst possible matchup for him in a big spot. I do. So I think styles make fights. And this has become one-sided, this matchup, this rivalry now that we have. And it's the worst possible matchup for that one particular player.
Like, Tony, they were so good, Edmonton, throughout the Western Conference playoffs.
They had won
so
13 of 15 games at one point.
They were so good.
So here we are with a team that can operate, can be high octane, they could do a lot of things. But you get one matchup, and for me, it's probably McDavid Barkov. It's something of that nature. And then it's the second and third line that has a very defensive forward position. That's what makes this team different. And that's all it really takes to elevate to the next level. This is going to now be viewed as an all-time team. I absolutely think it is. But when you're going through a season, you're not going to say they're light years ahead of everybody else. They're not. Until you see it on the ice against a particular opponent. And that's domination, as you have the stat in front of you, Dan. They led by more minutes than any other team in 70 years. And then it went on to be the all-time record.
Oilers led after one period this series.
Yeah, so that doesn't happen. That just doesn't happen, and it doesn't happen to the Oilers. You can, in hockey, take away a team's best player. But this particular matchup, and it gets down to Barkov for me, what he does to McDavid that's the one solve that no one else in the league has.
He was amazing.
So it's not like you have a copycat. Like, can we get Yeah, you can get a Barkov. Maybe Florida has a mini Barkov on their third line. But until you get one, there's no copycat to that.
It's hard to get a Barkov.
To the comparison point of the Miami Heat of the Big Three, you look at what that was in those 4 years. It was wall-to-wall coverage on ESPN. On every platform you could mention, there was wall-to-wall coverage of the Miami Heat. We talked about the Panthers for nationally for 3 minutes. Hey, they won. They're already on to the NBA Finals. They're already on to what's happening in training camp for the NFL. It's different where nobody's talking about the Panthers. So how can you get fatigued about something you don't talk about?
Well, let me explain why it is the show will be doing what it is doing throughout the day today for 4 hours straight. Kachuk has been asked if the Panthers are a dynasty, and he says, hell yeah, absolutely. There have only been 3 back-to-back champions in our city's history. It's LeBron's team. It's the undefeated Dolphins. If you're a back-to-back champion in our city, it's not University of Miami, right? It's professional sports.
Canes didn't win back-to-back either.
No, yeah, excuse me. Sorry, I thought they had won one.
They did. They got robbed.
I thought they had won 2 in a row. You're right. So the Panthers enter a class that there are only 3 of in the city's history, and the Oilers were outscored by the Panthers 13-4 in the first period in the series, including 9-0 in the last 4 games. So what Tony was saying about 13-15, the Oilers started the playoffs down 0-2 to the Kings and were down in the last 5 minutes of games 3 and 4 and then just reeled off like something that could have and should have won the championship playing that way, except it ran into, Tony saying, the one thing it couldn't run into where your best player is suffocated by their guy and then the 10 guys behind
the McDavid stopper. I mean, that's basically is what we were talking at. You never won back-to-back championships, Zaz, for journalist of the year in
I'm a 2-time champion broadcaster.
Yeah.
And that was back-to-back.
Well, there
so,
you go.
yeah.
So that's another dynastic performance.
Did you guys hear, and I failed to ask Greg Cody, he's made Brad Williams his former friend now.
Yeah, what's that about?
Former friend, because Brad Williams went on the White Hat podcast, and Greg Cody is feeling himself these days. Billy, how are you feeling in that in the role there? Because I thought I wanted you to give me the ability to play the sounder, your Wild Willie Wednesday sounder on this thing, because when you asked Zaz if he's already tired of championship fatigue, it's an asinine thing.
No,
to
it's
ask
not.
him.
That was a real thing that happened with the Heat. Like, people just assumed they were going to be in the finals every year, and honestly took for granted the last finals appearance because you just assumed LeBron will be back. This is going to go on forever, and then boom, just like that, he's watching a soccer game, not listening to Pat Riley, and he's gone, and the whole thing falls apart. Chris Bosh then has his kidney thing, and he's gone. Dwayne Wade gets in a fight with Pat Riley. He's gone, just like that. Boom. You know what I mean? It all evaporated very quickly.
Zoe was the kidney, though.
Yeah, Zoe was the kidney.
Whatever.
Blood clots for Bosh.
Yeah.
Tomato, tomato.
One thing can kill you, the other thing can kill you. The same thing,
Yeah, I mean.
You guys, how does it always devolve into this? Death, grief, mourning, literally and figuratively. How does it always devolve into that for you guys?
Look to your left.
I thought we should have played a game called Around the Mourn, and it could have been around grief and Alonzo Mourning trivia.
Alonzo.
That's an idea.
Yeah. Of all the ideas you've had, that's one of them. What else did you want to play?
Around the porn.
Of course you did.
But instead, he wanted to do positive around the Bjorn, around
Baby
the pop.
Bjorn.
Oh man, baby Bjorns are awesome, by the way.
Aren't they?
Tony, listen to
Come
this.
on, the relief on your neck and shoulders right here.
Anytime I put her in the baby Bjorn,
Yeah.
she takes a shit. It's incredible. She's a little constipated. Put her in the baby Bjorn.
But
Bam!
you're still at that age where it smells great, right?
6 months, yeah.
Yeah. Once because you're not on solids.
We're gonna start solids down a bit.
Damn.
I'm a little worried.
Pre-solids, baby poop.
It smells like guayaba.
It is absolutely.
I'm not gonna lie to you, Dan.
Not guayaba.
I'm telling you,
Guayaba
I've looked
smells
at.
fine. Guayaba smells
It
fine.
smells fine.
I'm
is
telling
what
you,
I'm
I've
saying.
smelled it. I've been like,
Oh God.
It's
You
almost
say guayaba,
scentless.
I would say Glen Rollatini. I mean, it's a wonderful. I mean, there is a freshness to it.
there is.
You're saying
It's still a new experience.
You're saying the first. If you tell me the first 6 months of baby poop scent is guayaba, it smells nice.
Yes.
It smells fine.
I think it is built in in humans, so we don't discard our children.
I don't
in the
remember
cave.
it.
In the
I don't
cave.
remember it
You don't
smelling like
remember
that.
it.
I don't remember.
It's
like
been a
that.
long time for you, though, Zaz.
Yeah.
I think it smelled terrible.
No, it doesn't smell for a while. When it starts smelling, though, it hits you, and you're like, "Oh boy,
But
what
that's
did
solids,
I do?"
though.
But Dan started this with he wants to talk about playing around. You said around the porn.
or something.
So you came up with questions overnight. You were writing questions. Were you doing research and everything?
Around the morn, a trivia game about grief and trivia about Alonzo Mourning.
What's the trivia about grief? Like, who shot JFK? What are we doing?
It's not a real idea.
What's the saddest part of the life?
It's just
Do you
a
pick
joke.
which question you want? Like something about mourning or something about mourning? Is that what it is?
Yes, that's the joke. You never know which one's coming.
Got a lot of Zoe stats there for you.
Right, yeah, you don't know whether the question's going to be a serious, super serious grief
don't
question
know.
that's going to make you sad. Would you attend their funeral, or is it going to be about Alonzo Mourning? You know, what was the name of the woman who
Would
raised him?
you attend their funeral? Is an interesting game segment, though. We thought of some games we could play. Early days of PTI. This is when we were together doing Party Interruption, Dan. And who would you rather be stuck in an elevator with? But would you attend their funeral?
It's a great game.
Is an interesting game.
Well, we've been playing it here. Or should we play it with Tony Reale? Should we play the?
Nah.
You don't
go
want
to
to play.
everyone.
He wants to play it. He thinks it's
What?
an interesting game.
He would be at everybody's.
I'm not.
Genuinely.
I'm not the one to play. I'm.
But you don't think I can put someone
would
for
go to
you
everyone's.
right on the line? You don't think I can put?
They would call me Mr. 3 to 5, 7 to 9.
Tony
I would
fills
show up
out
both
that book,
sessions
yeah.
of the funeral book.
How long?
Mr. 3 to 5, 7 to 9. I'll be there for both shoulders.
How long is your message in the book that you write? Like,
Yeah,
you flip
no.
the page with like your goodbye message.
I do. This is something we touched upon on South Beach Sessions. Let me go ahead and tease that, right? We got to this. What I write. I'm a writer. I like to write cards out to people. I'm in the process of doing that after we had the finale to the TV show. But I had to change. I had to take myself and my mind over what I would want for myself and think, what I should be writing for somebody who's in that position. Because how I feel about something isn't necessarily how someone else should feel about something. And that's what we get to. He gets to the core of that.
South Beach Sessions coming out tomorrow. We've broken the top of the cup as well. Now there's more news.
Oh,
Yeah.
whoa!
Well, that's a fraction.
Whoa!
That's a Russ situation.
So the cup has been in our hands for 12 hours, and the bottom of it is dented. The most hallowed trophy in sports. Also, we've just broken the top of it.
Break that shit.
Well-
That's our cup. 2 years in a row. Break that shit, dude.
Break
Who
it
cares?
and bury it under the remains of
Who
Wanna-Do
cares?
City
They
at
got
Sawgrass
17
Mills
of them.
Mall.
Who cares? The guy with the white hair is gonna come back with another. Oh, this is the Stanley Cup. No, we've got 8 of them. Sorry.
Yeah,
break
well,
that shit.
Actually, Tony, you're right about this. We learned the last time the cup was here, most hallowed trophy in sports. We interviewed the guy who protects it, and then I think someone whispered, "Yeah, there are like a dozen of them."
It's like this is the fake one. It's like then why is he treating with so much respect? Who cares?
But they're 12,
oh, I can't touch it.
There are 12 guys running around with 12 trophies and whatever. They'll make 12 more.
Break that shit.
We're gonna break all of them. We're gonna keep.
I'm gonna tell Chris when he gets to the elbow room, break that shit.
That's not right. That's disrespectful. Canada can't be liking that.
Dorks.
Florida treats the trophy that way.
Hold that.
No, that's not cool, Tony. You don't care about hockey. You don't respect the cup.
What are you
He's got
talking?
a shirt and a hat.
Who has more hockey stuff right now than me?
Yeah.
Literally who? Nobody. Not one person. I'm wearing skates right now.
Zazzlo, is one of your sons at the elbow room?
My 16-year-old's at elbow room right now.
What? Like with a fake?
That can't be.
What do you mean?
Don't blow up a spot, dude. They're gonna look for the young Zazzlo.
Well,
and be like, hey, what are you
if they're
doing
not going
here?
to let him in the doors, like he's outside, like they're bringing the cup right outside, walking on the beach, and my son's there. Yeah.
But does he have your old ID and he's
No.
passing as you?
No.
I mean, you guys probably have a similar, whole
Yeah.
situation. You
Yeah.
know? I mean, you
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah, he might pass. His hair is a different color than mine, so I don't know. if
Yeah,
he'll pass.
you're right. I mean, but there's the fullness.
Young Zazzlo.
Fullness.
Dan, did you notice that everybody here, like the big hockey guys, big Panthers, everyone's beard was already trimmed. Like they waited 0 minutes to trim their beard, shave their beards immediately. Like Chris Cody's beard was completely groomed. I was like, did you like race home to do that last night? He's like, oh, first thing in the morning, trim the beard. They wanted nothing to do with their playoff beards anymore now that it was done.
By the way, buzzer at 6:30 in the morning when my wife is sleeping, not the play.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at Le Batard Show. Does baby poop smell fine/nice?
Until we get to solid foods, right?
Then it changes.
Until we get to solid foods. I believe the next incarnation of Tony Reality's life will have a lot of I hope it has a lot of parenting stuff in it.
Yeah.
Although I learned during the South Beach session that you mentioned, I did not realize that you were still at ESPN.
Thank you very much.
Well, but you're not on air anymore,
At the
right?
moment, I'm not on air. I'll be happy to
Yeah, he's my coworker.
colleagues. I don't have the back-to-back Broadcaster of the Year awards.
Nobody's perfect.
Neither does he.
But you're going to be on the air these next couple of months?
Oh, I mean, any conversation would be fine. I mean, I'd be happy to work. I'm happy to work. I'm here to work.
Okay, I'm sorry. No, but I'm just saying, like, I don't understand. You don't understand. None of us understand. It's not been explained well by anybody why we would cancel a very popular show. But I was talking the other day about, like, the idea, and look, I'm not going to put Tony in the bad spot here.
Seems like you are.
No, I'm just going to explain this part to the audience because to the degree that you should care about something that has been carefully crafted and deserves to be curated and treated with respect, because Tony built one of the rarest things there is, an audience uniquely sort of his that will go with him because they like the man that he grew up to be over 23 years. You did how many shows? 4,900.
Horn was 4,953 episodes, yeah.
All right, so you were 47 from 5,000. And just where it is that corporations get a little careless. Bryant Gumbel was 1 year on the best sports television show there is from 30 years, HBO Real Sports. It got to 29 years. The idea that he's being paid right now, but there are not shows when he could have gotten to 5,000 would
I
have
don't
been.
think about that.
Okay, well, I do. I'm not. You haven't said this to me. I'm saying this because
Nobody knows what episode you're on today right now, though. You're 20 years of DLS. What episode is it? You don't even know what episode you're on.
I don't know, but YouTube.com/ at Tony Reali is where you will find stuff that he will be doing to keep Around the Horn alive.
Oh, for a little bit, but I'm going to be cooking in there.
Is this part of Around the Morn right now?
That's a good game. It's a good
it's
game.
It's the worst game I've ever heard.
Yeah, it's a game.
So you prefer to do Around the Porn?
Neither's option.
Around the Bjorn?
I'm in.
Because Tony, when you were doing the Bjorn and you were putting the baby in something, but I thought the Bjorn we wore it here, right? Like the baby.
So the Bjorn is the actual the brand name of it. Yeah. They have different products. Yeah. I'm doing the one that's like it's almost like a sling that she sits in on the floor. So when I'm tired of holding her, put her right on there, and then she sits down in it, and it kind of.
This is new for me.
I'm
the wrap. I'm gonna wrap myself in my human, my
but
little human. Wrap myself.
But
in
Tony's
a
not. Tony Kaladiud is not. He's not describing a Bjorn.
No,
he's describing something else that the baby poops in.
Baby Bjorn is now a full line of accoutrement, and So
mine is the bouncer, right? So she sits in the bouncer, and then she can bounce herself, and then I think at the angle she's like, ooh. I like this. It's almost like a squatty potty for the baby because she starts realizing, wait a second, this position, I can kind of let things rip. Boom, she lets it rip. I can't tell you how many times I've had to take the thing out and change it because it poops everywhere. But we can look for a baby Bjorn bouncer, which is what I have.
So a Bjorn can be a Bjorn, or a Bjorn can be a bouncer, but a bouncer can't be a Bjorn.
Unless it's made by the company.
Well, right, that's what. Yeah.
Unless the guy working in the elbow room's name is Bjorn. Yeah. Is this the type of stuff you like for Zoo Crew Radio? Is that type of humor?
Is that what we do, Zoo Crew Radio?
It's Zippy and the Juice. We're back after this.
say, you're scared because you know if my client kills, he could take your job. No, I want your client to do well. It's just that, talking about Reagan's trip to Pittsburgh 30 years later, it's not really timely anymore, okay? Can you try to update the material? Oh, and then people get furious. So there's all sorts of reasons why. But I think the key is I was always happy at whatever level I was at. I mean, I used to have a day job and then be a comedian at night, and I would bank one and spend the other. And then when the comedian money got to be pretty good, I quit the other job. And I thought, I'm making a living as a comedian, because it's probably a sad reflection on our society, but the worst comedian in the world still makes more than the best teacher, which seems hardly fair, but that's just the way it is. And so I always was able to make a living, and it was okay. Each year got a little better than the year before, and that was okay. It's so funny. Whenever I watch these shows about, there's a couple of them on Netflix and HBO about comedians, it's a backbiting, horrible business, and everybody hates one another. And that wasn't the case at all. I mean, I got where I was thanks to Steve Martin and Johnny Carson.
Oh, this is like reverse Bill O'Reilly right now. I look taller than you. Look at this. No, look at no. Tell me, yes. I'm just feeling very vulnerable right now. I feel. That's it. What a great shot for me.
Are you ready?
I'm ready. They've been rolling on this all along. This is what we want out there. This is the one goal, to make me not be a TV host right now.
DeGeneres and some other comedians as well. And you can't do every job every day. So I've always found comedians to be extremely supportive. Whenever one of us, by one of us, I mean Letterman or me or Seinfeld or even Robin Williams, if you watch my first Tonight Show from 1977, you hear this in the back laughing in the audience. It's Robin. Robin was sitting in the audience, kind of helping me out and giving me a little encouragement, And consequently, when those guys did the Tonight Shows, we all went and would laugh it up for them, whether it's Merv Griffin or, Mike Douglas or any of those shows. So it's actually quite a nice way to make a living. I mean, yes, there are horrible people in it, I suppose, but I didn't run into too many of them. I met far more nice people than bad people.
What do you regard as the happiest time in your professional life? Because I remember, I don't know how many times you appeared on Letterman. I remember a stand-up act specifically that for some reason, I don't know whether it was discovering you, I guess, but you were on stage and you did something about Mr. Universe, and you held your fingers under your chin and you made, some other interplanetary weightlifter was furious because, we had decided that
I should have won. I got that bit, yeah. Something about how did Venus win? I should have won. It was how they have Mr. Universe. If there's the happiest time. Yesterday was pretty good, but the happiest time was probably when I was doing Letterman show every month. About every 4 weeks, I do a Letterman show, and it was the first time that I got to be on with a contemporary, because like with Johnny Carson, like when it's him, oh, hi, Mr. Carson, call me Johnny. Well, when you grow up in New England, you don't call parents by their first name. Jay, these are my parents, Bob and Agnes. Oh, hi, Bob. No, hi, Mr. and Mrs. Minicelli. How are you? Nice to meet you. So to me, it was always weird doing Merv Griffin or Mike Douglas or any of those shows, because I was talking to an adult and I was essentially a kid. And then finally, when Letterman got a show, I could want to go, hey, Dave, nice tie, Dave. What a dump this studio is. And just, trash, which you couldn't do with Johnny just out of respect or out of deference, So that was the most fun to me. And you really got a chance to be yourself. The fun thing about doing Letterman in those early days was making Letterman laugh on the way to the joke as opposed to the joke. Letterman was a guy who always got nervous before he went on stage. I didn't get nervous. So one day I was eating a sandwich and Letterman stops me and he goes, how can you eat that sandwich? You're on in 5 minutes. Get rid of that stupid sandwich. I said, oh, no. This is going to be great. So I went down, I got a brand new, another meatball sandwich, just an enormous, and I walked out and said, Dave, try this. And I put the sandwich on his desk, and of course the meatballs getting all over everything. And Dave was just, acting flustered. And I said, Dave, try this meatball. I'm not eating that disgusting meatball. And we had so much fun because it was all ad-lib. And it was happening in the moment. So if I had to pick the most exciting part of my career, that was probably it. That whole 3-year, 4-year period of just constantly doing Letterman all the time and going on, writing material literally the day before and then going on and doing it. So yeah, that would certainly be it.
I don't know if you've examined this because I regard you as someone who generally comes from a happier place with comedy, or a better relationship with comedy, where Letterman seemed it was colder, or that, he would be a little miserable, or some of the negative feelings. He wasn't quite as comfortable ever, and it was part of his charm and funny. But you had a unique access to such a time in late night television where these cathedrals exist, and you elevated yourself into a place where you're telling me now as we talk that the Tonight Show and doing it, even though it was the greatest of ambitions, was somehow less fun than a time in television where you and Letterman could just screw around and not worry about anything.
Well, yeah, I mean, you kind of answer your own question. I mean, it's true where you can just be yourself and screw around. What's funny, because when you start out in comedy, you go to the comedy club and you have your act down in your head and how you're going to do it, And then afterwards, all the comedians would go out to eat to one of the popular Cantors or a deli or something, and you'd get the big table, you'd order food, then you'd all sit around, you'd talk about the act and what was funny, what worked, and people would help you, you'd help them. But then something kind of interesting would happen. You'd find you had even funnier stories just riffing with the guys. And you realize, hey, I'm getting laughs here, but there's no punchline. There's no real ending to it. There's no beginning. It's just a funny story. And that's what was something I was able to bring the Letterman show, because before you sort of write joke, tell joke, get checked, real simple, Whereas with Letterman, the fun was always on the way to the joke. I remember and I don't think he ever got to the team, but I went on Letterman's show. Letterman, what did you get up to? I said, Dave, I was out at the old Manson place the other day. Just want to see the guys, see what they've been up to since the massacre. It's kind of laying low. And the old Manson place, where you just, yeah, Dave, you know Charlie and the guy. And, we're just talking like this, like as if they were, not horrible murderers. And it was really funny, and people laughed, and there was no ending. There was no beginning. Oh, we just went to commercial break.
Thinking Big with Kevin Hart.
I'm very excited about doing this because this is a human being I'm very curious about. His insatiability, his conquering, his ability to be, I think I can say this, if not the most successful comedian in America, the most popular comedian in America. Usually stadiums don't get sold out. Kevin Hart, thank you for being here. I am really interested in finding out how you're built. Your friend Neil Brennan tells me, ask him about his past and you will understand why he can't stop working and why he will never stop working.
That's very true. Neil is a really good friend of mine. Great guy, too. I like Neil all around in general. He's just a good definition of a person.
This episode is presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Chris, Cody, and Roy are late to the party at the Elbow Room. It is crazy there already.
I told you it would be. You wanted it to
crazy.
Be done and just people were ready to move on. And, yeah, we got to get them there. Now we're worried about traffic. Oh, boy.
That is correct. It takes a while to get there, but Chris Cody has left, Roy has left, and you will forgive us for just generally being a little bit drunk here. That is going to be my excuse for confusing Reinhardt and Bennett a couple of segments ago. And Zazzlo was on ESPN Radio Game Night last night immediately after the victory.
Yeah.
He doesn't remember anything he said.
That. I mean, I think I did fine. I think I gave them what they wanted. I mean, I don't remember.
He doesn't remember. It was celebratory elbow room feeling.
Break that shit.
Jessica.
It's exciting.
Jessica's about to join us here because we have an emergency. There was another giant thing that happened in sports last night.
This was huge, Dan.
Yeah, it was the video is amazing to watch just anytime there's a fight. But on our list of tensions, right, we have a hierarchy of tensions. We begin with what to describe this fight, how to describe this fight during Fever Sun. We've got chicanery is at the very bottom, hijinks, malarkey, skullduggery, shenanigans, tiff, spat, quarrel, tomfoolery, skirmish, frackus, hullabaloo, ballyhoo, dust-up, brouhaha, Armageddon, agree to disagree.
You just went to Urban Thesaurus and you came up with words. I mean, this is not...
You interrupted me as I went from Armageddon to agree to disagree. You stepped right on the joke.
I mean, this is how you're setting this up. This was a great, entertaining basketball game. Fever 88, Sun 71. This was chippy basketball, and this was the return now this week of Caitlin Clark to the league and announcing her presence with authority versus the Liberty in the way that she did. And now this was good basketball that is now veering off to something else. And Jessica, we bring you in here, and I want to get your take on this. What you saw last night. Start with the Sheldon foul on Caitlin Clark, the poke to the eye, and then what happens after that.
I'm going to start with Dan and say frackus. It was a frackus. When I told you I wanted to talk about this, I said it was a frackus, and I stand by that designation. I don't think this was anything more than a frackus.
Right.
It was certainly not an agree to disagree, but it also was not tomfoolery.
Was it a dust-up?
No, it was not a dust-up.
But we need to establish this right at the start. This is an allowable fracas in the playing of basketball, in your opinion, Jessica.
Yeah, I think this is competitive sports, and did Sophie Cunningham take it a little bit too far? Yeah, and I think she was penalized for that. But I think if you're going to criticize any aspect of what happened in the game, it's that the referees sort of let things get out of hand and maybe did not adjudicate some of the earlier fouls properly. There was, J.C. Sheldon and Caitlin Clark have been playing against each other for a long time. They played against each other in, the Big Ten in college. Mm-hmm. And so J.C. Sheldon was guarding Caitlin Clark during the game. And as early as the second quarter, there was obviously some words between the two of them. If you want to, do some lip reading, there were maybe some F-bombs dropped around from Caitlin Clark. And then when J.C. Sheldon appeared to poke her in the eye later in the game, Marina Mabry comes in. Marina Mabry is a former Notre Dame player, so of course I have to defend her because she's one of my favorites.
Marina Mabry. She does what Marina Mabry does, yes.
She's going to step in and defend her teammate. So she kind of hip checked / pushed Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark fell. That was a point in the game where, I think J.C. Sheldon got a flagrant 1 for the eye poke, but then everyone else was assessed technicals. And there may be some criticism that Marina Mabry should have gotten ejected there. I think, that's certainly up for debate. And I think it's also worth noting the Sun are not the best team in the WNBA. They're actually the worst, if not maybe the second worst. The Dallas Wings are also pretty bad. But the Fever are a championship contender team. So at the end of the game, when most of the starters were out, the Fever were up by 17 points. And Sophie Cunningham decided to prevent J.C. Sheldon from, scoring on a layup. And that's when the fracas began. I would say everything before the fracas was just sort of basketball-y players, defending their teammates sort of thing. And then the fracas occurred in the fourth quarter, which was, it took, the referees 10 minutes to decide what to do. They ended up ejecting a bunch of players, including Lindsay Allen, which I don't even know what she looked like she was trying to break it up. It was just very silly. And so, yeah, there's been a lot of internet discourse today about Sophie Cunningham. Dan, I think you would probably like to know this, but the people call her MAGA Barbie. That's part of all of this too. So yeah, it was a spicy meatball.
I love that our show went from what we were describing as hungover slop to breaking out into Around the Horn, where Tony's hosting and we're bringing in Jessica, and she's using words like adjudicate to give informed analysis. I don't know what happened, but I love it.
Well, this is a very interesting story to me and for me and Jessica. I think the conversation really needs to start with how people view Caitlin Clark and whether people view that the WNBA needs to protect Caitlin Clark, the golden goose of a league, as which she is being called, from rough play in the playing of game, and your view of that. Because for me, when I watch this with my eyes, that's a little face guarding, that's a poke in the eye, that's in the play of basketball. Mabry comes in for a hip check. Well, I see that in other NBA games, and it's not front page of USA Today the next day. That happens. And then Cunningham, Sophie Cunningham's on this team because she's going to now be an enforcer for Caitlin Clark, and I think that's a wise move by Indiana. But do you believe the WNBA has to be more serious in protecting one player over other players because of the physicality around how defenders now are with Caitlin Clark?
Yeah, I mean, my take on this, I think, has been pretty consistent since Caitlin Clark was in college, which is that she dishes it out, and I think that it's a disservice to her as an athlete to pretend like she can't also take it. Like, I think her being someone who can play really aggressive, hard basketball and competitive basketball and can, smack talk back and forth with other players is something that's part of her game and something that, should be celebrated, as well as her long threes. Like, those are the things that we love in athletes. And so I think that, this conversation is sort of spun out of control and needing to protect her. I don't think if she's going to swear at other players and get in other players' faces, then they should be able to get back in her face, and the referee should be able to assess penalties if it goes too far, which is what they did. And I agree that there's, I think, a conversation to be had about if Marino should have been ejected for that or not. Obviously, people that don't like Caitlin Clark are saying that she flopped when, Marina hip checked her and she sold the foul, which is, again, something basketball players do and should do. That's part of the game, is to sell fouls and to get your opponent to have a technical or whatever so that they're in trouble for the rest of the game. This is all part of basketball. So, yeah, I really don't want this to, go to that extreme level where now people are saying just crazy things, because this has been around in the WNBA for a long time. It's a really aggressive sport. It's a competitive sport. It's a contact sport. And yes, do things get out of hand? Of course they do sometimes. And I think the pressure should be on the officials to prevent that and to, when it happens, be able to assess it and give fair punishments.
Jeremy just chimed in while he was watching what's happening around here. And when you chimed in very precisely there with the word precisely, he was expecting to hear the around the horn sound of points given, because evidently
it's been ingrained in all of us. My voice
evidently, that's one of your tells.
Jessica, I would say that would have been a 15-point answer.
Really?
Wow.
Absolutely a 15-point answer. That would be you'd be leading going into the by yourself.
15-point answer.
Well, I mean, here's what happens with if you're watching a game and then you're watching social media, watch a game. It goes so sideways so quickly. And this should be celebrated for physical basketball, because we wouldn't be leading parades that the NBA needs to protect these certain players from being poked in the eye. Her last time out of the court, Caitlin Clark hit 6 3-pointers from over 26 feet. How do you stop that? Well, you got to put a hand in the face. High poking happens in basketball. Now, the hip check that comes afterward, it happens in basketball too. It's not a basketball play. It gets assessed a T or an ejection, and we move on from that. The Indiana Fever built this team. They're a wagon this year. They haven't played a full game of basketball really this whole season. They haven't got the full DeWanna Bonner yet. They haven't gotten the full Caitlin Clark, as we know. She missed 3 weeks. But they're going to be a contender this season. But what they were smart, they built a team now with some enforcers. Sophie Cunningham is happy to mix it up.
That's cool. When you say the words, that's a wagon, I've heard them all the time. The Panthers are officially a wagon now. They were a wagon last year. They're a double wagon now.
It's something that's just not the best players. It's a team that really complements each other, I think, more than the team we saw last year.
But where does the expression come from? Forgive me for not knowing. They're a wagon. I know what it means, but I don't know how it starts or why it is the Panthers are a wagon, but they're called a wagon. Do you know?
You're asking me for the etymology of a phrase that is no. I mean, they're
I
going
always thought it was
downhill,
like
and it's really hard to
Someone has
stop.
a wagon. Like someone has a wagon. Ooh, they got a big butt.
Okay, now
That's
we
what
got.
I've heard.
No,
She said
I'm not saying that either in this discussion.
I
Like
think that's
Mrs.
a
Mac.
caboose.
The
There's
New
a
York
wagon, got a
Liberty and the
big wagon.
Minnesota Lynx are the best teams in the WNBA, but the Fever now are right there with the roster that they put out there. And we can keep this conversation always, as we should, about basketball. But that is a team going downhill
Got
now
that thing on
in a way that is hard to
Hey.
No, we're not doing this.
Whoa.
No,
We're not
he's
doing
right.
this.
He's right.
We're
He's
not
right.
doing
He's
this.
right about that. He's right about
You
that.
got a fatty dumpy, Dan.
So now you're at minus 15 points, Saz, and now your back-to-back broadcaster of the year
Jessica's killing me
is
now.
really. This might as well be a Jessica FaceTime here.
15-point answer. You just gave that up. Have you heard another 15-point answer from anybody this week?
No.
You've been here all week. Have you heard a single 15-point answer?
Well, I really like Billy going for the Ocean's 14 job, stealing the Stanley Cup. I thought that would have been outstanding. That was well thought out.
It was there.
It was there for the taking. It still may be.
What is going on with Roy and Chris Cody? The elbow room is insane. I'd like video as fast as you guys can get it behind all of us. Videos all over the internet of we're breaking the trophy. The trophy's being broken at the elbow room. The party has begun in South Florida. Yes, Jessica.
I would just like to say, if I were there today, Dan, I would be begging you not to go to the elbow room because that is who would want to drive all the way to the elbow room?
Again,
from
it's
the
about the driving. This
After
is
they just
unbelievable.
Driven all the way down to Miami. There's no way in hell you could pay me to go to the elbow room today, Dan. It's been what? Probably 7-8 weeks since the last time I drove on I-95 in Miami.
This is
I
what this
never
has become.
want to do it.
So
again.
we talked
Never.
earlier,
I'm
Jessica,
never
about whether
coming back.
championship fatigue was in play here. And we didn't think it was true for this particular team, the Panthers, because of the way they.
I think Jessica had to move because of the traffic. She's not complaining about a small thing. It is a suffering down here. We have
hell.
We have 7 times too many people. We don't need this many people down here. We don't have the infrastructure for this many cars. Like Jessica, I think she moved because traffic. Number one.
I live a pretty beautiful life.
Yes,
I have
traffic.
multiple jobs that I love. I have a beautiful, loving wife. I think the thing that keeps me from feeling like I have a perfect life is the drive back and forth from Broward County to come do this show every day.
Are Chris and Roy there yet? We sent them too late. They have not gotten
They're
there
not
yet.
They're gonna get there at like 4
Yeah.
p.m. Dan. It's a work day and there's traffic.
If
pretty much
only
from
we could have
4:30
foreseen that this
in
was
the
a
morning.
possibility.
Yeah,
It's
not-
going to take them hours to get there, and then they have
Hours.
to find parking.
all right, so we will see.
That's
when-
going to take an hour and a half
We will
itself.
see when a hungover Roy and Roy's dry. A hungover Chris joins us with
Friday.
hungover Zazzlo, who can't remember what he said on ESPN Radio Game Night. I was talking earlier this week about, and I don't know, we became fascinated for about a week before about that submersible being stuck in the bottom of the ocean and the idea that people were trapped down there. There are not one but 2 documentaries. I've only seen one of them, and I know this is a Jessica interest from going back where we were all captivated by this story. The documentary I saw, I don't know which one of the 2 it is. It was very good and it answered almost all of my questions. Were the 2 documentaries comparable? Have you seen both of these?
I have seen both Ocean Gate, Titan Submersible documentaries, Dan, so you don't have to. I am here to report that, yes, they are about the same. There's some subtle differences in them. One's on HBO. It was, I think, produced by Discovery and BBC. That one has more of the Coast Guard investigation in it. It has the mother of the 19-year-old who died on the submersible with his father. It has a few interviews that the Netflix one doesn't have. And then likewise, the Netflix one has David Lockridge, who was a former Ocean Gate employee who sued, filed a whistleblower complaint with OSHA and was sued, countersued, and he sort of, blew the whistle on the whole thing before the submersible actually imploded, saying that this was unsafe. And so that, they're a little bit different talking heads, but essentially the same thing, which is that this thing was doomed from the start. And it was a terrible idea to use carbon fiber to create a submersible that was going to go down this far. It had never been done before because that material is not conducive to that amount of pressure. And the guy, if he hadn't died, Stockton Rush, with his submersible, he would be the most sued person alive, like the most in jail person that's ever been accused of a crime.
Is that
because
measurable?
he-
Most in jail?
Yes, like he knew that this was not a good idea, but he kept going.
It felt to me by the end of the documentary I saw, you correct me if I have it wrong with the other documentary, but not just that as the conclusion, but that it is possible that he at the end took one of those trips because he knew that's how his life was going to end, to get away from what would be all of his problems, because there was no way that his dreams were going to come true on whatever the commerce of that thing was supposed to be.
And he took 5 people down with him?
I mean,
that's the exactly, Tony. Like that's the tragedy of it. Like this, it's sort of easy to laugh at, I guess, if you can try to not think. It's hard to like separate the fact that like some innocent people died for me, so it's like not funny, but like I don't know. I guess people find some humor in the fact that like these super wealthy people thought they could do this. I'm not sure. But anyways, yes, Dan, there are people that speculate that he was sort of like borderline suicidal because he had so much money tied up in this, and he knew that the second hull that they constructed after the first one was compromised and needed to be rebuilt was actually not suitable. And so he'd rather be on the submersible if something happened versus on the boat that, you know, the like recovery boat or whatever the boat's called, support boat, I think. And I don't know if that's true. I think that I've also read other people say that no, he actually believed this thing was really safe and he totally had complete faith in his creation. So I think there's a lot of speculation there.
Have any of you been on a submarine? The idea of it, the comfort level that you would have going to pressures that in a tube. I've not been in one, but the idea that this thing is super small. Okay, it was the craziness of going to the Titanic in this thing, and him thinking that the carbon fiber was making it the safest place in the world, while it's making sounds from the pressure of carbon fiber breaking in a way that like reminds you, oh, this thing is breaking while he's saying it's safe. Like the whole thing sounded.
How big was the window that they were looking at?
Very small.
Very small. So the point
And it was
is,
bolted on with like 4 bolts, and that was it. And you couldn't open it from the inside.
The whole thing felt claustrophobic to me in a
but
way
you go on
I can't even
a
explain to you.
glass bottom boat, and it's always underwhelming. It's always like, oh, there's one fish, you know, that looks to be moving by, and there's more schmutz in the water than you're expecting. So you're not getting the views.
Not worth it.
It's so, and everything about it. When we thought it was possible, they had, what was it, Jessica, 24 or 36 hours of air if they were, you know, not immediately deceased by the crack and pressure, and we were pinging noises down there. Just imagine being in complete darkness for 36 hours. I mean, everything about it is a nightmare.
Yeah.
Let's segue to other things. Just
I don't like it.
Was that part of the morning around the morn? Was this that
God.
segment?
That would have
Doing
been
it?
good.
I didn't.
Submersible around the morn.
Around the morn, submersible trivia and questions about Alonzo Mourning. Around the
that's
morn.
actually decent.
Stop! Don't
idea.
humor
I would
him.
say-
There's nothing
I would
decent
say-
about this. There's nothing.
One more thing, which is that like the audience is probably sick of hearing us talk about this, and I understand. However, I also thought I was sick of this story and didn't care about it anymore until I watched the first documentary, and then I was like, oh no, I can't get enough of this. This is like one of the most absurd things that has ever happened, and I keep reading more and more about it. I'm on the Ocean Gate Titan Reddit, like the subreddit.
Would
like,
you?
I'm
Should
deep
I
in the
watch?
hole.
Should I watch the second one? I've seen the one with the mother. So is it worth watching the second one, or is it just going to be redundant?
I mean, it depends how much free time you have.
Because was it the Fire Festival? I watched both of those documentaries, and those were both those were both very different. I enjoyed both of them. It's unfortunate when 2 documentaries on the same subject, like those people had to be rushing each other to try and beat each other to market.
I want a documentary on that. A documentary on the 2 documentaries and how we are navigating that.
I am told we have live elbow room coverage. Do we have a camera present wherever it is that, okay, they've gathered on that corner. Look at the frenzy. Canada, eat your heart out right there. The frenzy on the corner. What is that? That's near Las Olas. Which the quarter deck is around the corner. What street is that? What corner is that? Do we know the street names?
I believe that's the corner of A1A and Las Olas specifically. It could be Sunrise. I will confirm for you.
Beach looking good today.
Well, yes, it's looked lovely the last 3 days, but not worth the traffic, according to Jessica.
This is unbelievable.
But Chris and Roy are not yet there. We have a camera there, a live cam, but not yet Chris and Roy. Okay, we'll wait for them to get there. Yesterday, Stugotz left, and I thought it was funny that he left. This is the first art story that I have ever seen Stugotz take interest in. And it's because some tourists in Italy were at a museum and just sat on a chair that was like, who was it made by? Who was the chair made by?
Jessica may know this for sure, but I believe it was not made by Van Gogh. It was made in the spirit of Van Gogh. That's why it's not maybe a timeless piece, right, Jessica?
Exactly. It's like a contemporary rendition of the famous chair painting that Van Gogh painted, in the 19th century. So it is not in itself a priceless work of art, but it is a Swarovski crystal chair in a museum in Verona, Italy.
And they just up and dipped after they broke it, right?
Yeah, it's incredible video because it's exactly what you would expect to happen. We've all been in museums, and you want to get your chance to get real close and then do something silly, like, I'm going to pretend to be licking the Mona Lisa or something like that, right? In a photo, or you do the look at me, I'm pushing the Leaning Tower of Pisa type thing. But you never actually touch it. You never actually sit in it.
Yeah, they broke it, and then it's just, let's get out of here, and they left.
I mean,
Assholes.
no, they did the smart thing though, which is like they didn't get up and run away. According to the article I read, they just like sort of slowly walked out and blended into the crowd, and they still haven't.
There's video of it though. Yeah. That's what you get. You get that look when they realize we did it, right? We sat in the chair, we broke it. But I heard people saying they sat in Van Gogh's chair. They didn't sit in Van Gogh's chair. They sat in somebody doing a little version of it with some nice crystals.
You can never run away. The whole point is if you do something nefarious, you got to walk away like it never happened, just like Ethan Hunt.
But you don't turn back. You don't turn back.
Never
the
turn
explosion
back.
is happening
You never
behind
turn
you.
back. It's like Ethan Hunt where he's walking in a crowd and all of a sudden he disappears and you're like, where'd he go? Boom, just like that. You can never run away. Running away draws some signs. You don't like that.
I mean, the number one question that everyone was asking when this video came out was, were they American? And I guess we still just don't know because they haven't come forward. So it's kind of
never found them.
Yeah.
I want on all the videos and all the televisions in here to see Elbow Room Celebration, the Stanley Cup as its rightful place between Rock Bar and the Quarterdeck and Ben and Jerry's. It is where it belongs. This is where the Stanley Cup should be forever. I am told that Bennett is chanting 8 more years.
Yep.
He is at the Elbow Room telling everybody that he's going to sign an extension when he. I just associate Bennett with cash register. Every time he scored, the announcer analysis was always, oh my God, he's going to get paid so much. And now he's just shouting, what's that going to cost, Zazzlo? 8 more years. The Panthers are drunk on power. They've got the business to afford expensive players.
Hopefully something like 8x8, maybe 8.5. The Panthers have $19 million in salary cap space. So 8.5 on Bennett's a lot, but it's doable. They could do it.
It's hockey. It's like $1 million a year, basically.
What's going to be the cost? Who are they going to lose from the deepest? I can make the argument. This I can say, right? There was an undefeated Dolphins team, and obviously LeBron and Wade and Bosch. But I can say this right here in front of us is the deepest South Florida championship thing we've ever seen. So who are they going to lose?
Yeah, so remember, hard salary caps. There's no wiggle room. But Bennett's going to re-sign. I would guess we will get the Bennett news like on parade day. I feel like last year on parade day we got the Reinhart extension. Like that's right. That's going to happen this year. On parade day we'll get the Bennett extension. And so then it's, do you keep Ekblad? Ekblad's not going to make another $8 million, like 8.5 that he makes right now. If they can get Ekblad for maybe 5, that would be great. Does Ekblad say, hey, I just won 2 Stanley Cups, let me cash in one more time and leave? He might. I think they could work it out with Ekblad, and then you turn to Marchand, and you're like, hey, we'd really love to keep you.
That was fun, huh?
Yeah, like let's do it again. And then if that works out, they literally have the entire core of the team locked up for years. This is not going to end, potentially won't end for a while, and then you just... the back end of the roster, you bring in more one-year guys like they did this past year.
To your point on Bennett, Reinhart last year, it was announced that morning, and then he actually ended up sending in a video for the championship parade.
Oh, because he had a wedding.
Because he had a wedding he had to go to for one of his best friends, and it just so happened to be scheduled for the parade that was after Game 7. So it was the one time it couldn't happen, but he got his money, he got to celebrate, and I imagine that wedding
There's just no way that they don't lock up Bennett. There's no way.
Well, if he's chanting at
I would
Elbow
imagine
Room,
it's done, yeah.
That makes it official. No, I mean, look, once you get to chanting at the elbow room, it's finished. That is a binding contract, and everyone knows it, and it's the history of the elbow room.
Should I report it?
Yes. Yes, if he's chanting, if he himself is chanting 8 more years, doesn't he know that he's locked up for 8 more years?
All right, you know what? You know what? I'm a journalist.
This doesn't sound like journalism.
Well, it is journalism. I'm a journalist. I have something to report. Put it on the crawl. Sam Bennett and the Florida Panthers have agreed to a long-term contract extension.
Would you say it's about 8 years, or?
I'm hearing that it's 8 years.
This is not journalism.
I'm hearing that it's 8 years. I don't have the exact figures yet, but I can report. Put it on the crawl. I can report. Sam Bennett and the Florida Panthers, Conn Smythe winning, Sam Bennett, have agreed to a long-term contract extension. So, when someone else there on Twitter or whatever else, Instagram, I don't care, whenever some other journalist...
It's Sam Bennett himself. That's the other.
I'm not revealing my
Sam
sources.
Bennett.
You're trying to get me to reveal my sources. I would go to prison before I reveal my sources. If another journalist comes out and reports it, it better say, as first reported by Jonathan Zazzlo. Otherwise, you sus, and you have no integrity.
I want you guys to look at the elbow room right now, and I like to call it a land of 1,000 Chris Codys. That is the elbow room, everybody. Chris Cody is there, and he is multiplying.
Guy in the top right there, security guard, sweaty. I've seen him do the shirt over the brows and like wipe his sweat a couple times.
It's very hot over there.
Big hoss in the hallway right there.
Chris Cody was not joking when he said he would fit right in. Jessica, do you miss, it was a year ago at this time, you were in the middle of a championship celebration. You saw Greg Cody and all the majesty around him during the parade. Do you miss being a part of us being extra obnoxious on a winning day?
No, I honestly didn't know the Panthers won the Stanley Cup till when I tuned in this morning at 9 o'clock. So congrats, guys. I'm so happy for you. But no, I'm glad I wasn't in person for the J-off between Zazzlo and Cody.
Yeah, well,
journalism off.
The J off, yes. What Reale just did there, though, that's not right, is that he attacked Jonathan Zazzlo there.
Oh, no, I was attacking his reporting.
No, and
I
his
wasn't
journalism.
attacking.
What do you know? You talked to Jackie McMullen a few times, and you think you know something that Zazzlo doesn't?
Jackie Mack.
Like, what do you think you know about journalism that Zazzlo doesn't?
Look at me.
Look at him.
Well,
he's
I
a
respect
journalist.
the confidence. I respect the confidence.
Well, he's reporting. Not only is he reporting that it's done, he's saying they're not going to announce it until the parade. He didn't even add that part. That's just extra stuff he's giving you.
Okay, cool it, Marchand, whichever one it is that is weird about journalism.
Oh, pronouncing names is
Stop
how
attacking Tony.
It's how I should be allowed to age.
Thank you, Jess.
How many
Not that
names
Tony.
do Tony? How many names do Tony? What are the signs of Tony and Mike aging? What are the televised signs?
Well, I mean, the Wilbon Shuffle. You saw it firsthand when he came in for South Beach Sessions. You know, the Wilbon Shuffle is incredible. I mean, Tony has his curmudgeonly ways have softened. I mean, I feel like he's much more lovable.
I meant on air, the mistakes being made
mistakes
on
on
air because they're aging. She's making fun of me because I haven't pronounced Marchand.
No, I wasn't making fun of you. I was trying to make fun of a columnist that was like mad that around the horn, like Tony said he was a journalist or something.
The mistakes are always calling somebody by their father's name, right? That's always the mistake. So let's say it was Andrew Luck, it was Oliver Luck. That's always what happens. You remember somebody who you first covered, Cody Bellinger, Clay Bellinger type mix-up.
Oh, that's
right?
an interesting one. I was going to say saying the wrong person won the Conn Smythe trophy.
Well, that would be another one, yes.
Now I'm making fun of Dan.
Yes.
That one hurt. That one hurt. It's why it took 2 hours to get to somebody scored 4 goals in a clinching game last night. Usually that's the thing that echoes.
You did more time on traffic than you did on Conn Smythe.
That first goal was unbelievable. That was one of the greatest goals you've ever seen. That first goal from Wright. You see that? He scored it on his back. I think the game was over. This game's 5-0.
Can anyone here give me the historical context of what it should feel like? 4 goals in a clincher? Like if I'm in a series that you've dominated, if you become a champion that puts the punctuation on the championship with 4 goals in a clincher, who are the comps there across sports on somebody just burying someone else with just an outsized performance?
Giannis had 51 in that closeout game, and he made all of his free throws in Game 6 of the Finals. Giannis, I think, is a
Freddie
pretty
Freeman
good one.
last World Series, where he was just going bananas, hitting home runs all over the place.
I don't know in hockey. I didn't do the reading necessary to know how rare a 4-goal game in a clincher would be.
Well, they said on the telecast when he had the hat trick and then into the fourth, Wayne Gretzky. That's a good name to be brought up when you're doing things.
Decent.
So that's pretty decent. And then that's
Messier guaranteed Game 6 in '94.
That's a different thing.
And he scored, and he got a hat trick.
Yeah, that's a different thing.
Guaranteed a win.
Mm-hmm. 2 empty netters. Does that change the way you feel about 4, Zaz?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, let's be honest.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well.
Yeah, like the first 2 goals, little weightier than the last.
So
two.
that's some journalism I can respect.
Thank you. Not only is that journalism, I wonder if history will remember that.
No one will remember that. No one will remember. No. People tried to do this with Ovechkin this year, with 895, because while he now has the all-time goal record, he also had the all-time empty net record. Sooner than he had the all-time
definitely had a
goal.
bunch of empty net goals.
Of course. But I know people who want to make that a half a goal in your all-time rankings. That's ridiculous.
I want to leave you with this. Have you guys seen anything with the Pedro Pascal lookalike contest winner?
I don't know about that.
So Pedro Pascal is like, because of, I guess it would be the combination, right, of the last 2. He did Narcos, he did The Last of Us, and he's become like a real crossover.
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones, that's correct as well. So he's become a giant star. And what happened with the lookalike contest winner? Does it not look anything like Pedro Pascal? Let me see some video here.
It actually, Dan, looks so much like him that I think that it's actually just him pretending to be this
That's
other
a good
guy.
bit. That's a great bit. If he can carry that out for weeks without letting it be known. Do we have it? I haven't seen this.
One-upping Chalamet, who just showed up to see the winner. Pascal actually decides, you know what? I'm just going to compete
So
myself.
this is what middle-aged people do now for fun? They show up at events where they... Who do we have for a Le Batard lookalike? Who do we think? Can we do that? Can we do it?
That's exactly the game I want to play, but let's watch the Pedro Pascal lookalike first because he has an interesting actual career that is relevant.
Take a look at this. This is kind of funny. So
that's him?
That is a Pedro.
Oh, that is amazing.
He looks just like him.
Oh, even the gesticulating, he's giving you a little bit of a flair and a kiss.
Big deal, I think, here at the show, because that Pedro Pascal is our lighting designer.
Oh, that's amazing. That's great too. What a great bit.
No way.
George, is George?
What?
George.
No way.
But he's leaning into it, right?
I've never
Yeah,
known
the mustache. 100%.
that he looks like Pedro Pascal. Do we have a picture of what he looks like around the office?
Oh, okay. He cleaned it up. Okay, I see what's
How
happening.
did you do this?
Well, it's pretty funny. Tyler Goldman, stage manager, sent out a group text on maybe Wednesday last week.
Where's Tyler? There he is.
What's up, Tyler? And he was like, yo, you should go win a year of free burritos. And I was like, okay. And I went home on that day and I forgot about it. And then on Friday, I showed it to my wife and she was like, yo, you're doing this. And my neighbor in my building is a stylist. She does more still photography shoots. And she was like, yo, I've got pants, I got shoes, here's glasses. She's like, you just got to get a shirt. And I showed up on Father's Day. You were supposed to pre-signed up. I did not sign up. I rolled up and I'm like, yo, I'm here. And they're like, you're going to win.
It's the haircut.
It's a good bit.
It's everything.
It's a good bit.
You throw some glasses and a mustache as opposed to the beard, and it changes everything. He looked nothing like Pedro Pascal, and now I've never seen someone look more like another person.
Yeah, he's got a Clark Kent Superman thing going
crazy.
on there.
Jessica, good seeing you again. Talk to you next
Danny
week.
Benitez as our Dan Le Batard lookalike. That was my idea. Okay, bye.
Chris Penn, I thought her flounder from Animal House.
15-point answer earlier in the show for Jessica, leading after one round.
Believer in allowing people to be great, and you are good at what you do. So in this interview, be you. But if we can go as in depth as you want, what questions you have, you'll get great answers and great feedback. I'm here for the greater of good.
Okay, well, I'm happy to have you. So let's start, though, with your conquering. It seems like you are hell-bent on proving something with employees and worth and building and creativity. you want to be what? Like, it seems like you've arrived at what would be a destination for any comic.
I think that it's I can simplify it, right? I can simplify it. I think what some people tend to make extremely complex and difficult, I do a good job of making those things easy, right? For me, I look at it from a perspective of we all have an option in our life to do as much as we possibly can, right? And you can take that option and max it out, or you can do the minimum, or you can, do, I guess, what can be deemed to be the mid-level of whatever, right? But there's things that are put around us that do nothing but give us the opportunity to succeed and grow. And it's how you use those tools around you to basically be a version of your best benefit. And my tools that I've been able to form and put myself around are people, right? I've been around some really great people that have achieved a lot of amazing things in their lives and their careers. And in doing that, it's motivating, it's inspiring.
But have you met many like you? The Rock you guys seem to have like a common space where you both understand, we want everything. We want everything. You've met a lot of people like that?
I've met a lot of people like that. I'm an entrepreneur, right? So an entrepreneur, businessman, a mogul, whatever you want to define it as, there's people that have multiple layers. There's people that want to do a lot of things. There's people that do a lot of things. There's a lot of companies that have been developed to basically now act in a space because of their now ecosystem. They're able to do so much, right? Like the bandwidth of one thing is no longer just the one. It's, look at Amazon, look at Disney, look at these companies that have a multi-layered system, right? It's an amusement park, but then we do animation, and the animation has went into television, and now we are going out of this into experience, and experience, it's also an activation of experiential. Well, that's somebody that keeps compounding on one idea, right? Amazon, what was once one thing, well, now is Amazon Prime, Amazon Fresh Markets.
You are many things. You are tequilas. You are interview shows. You are documentaries.
Everything. But it comes from looking and being inspired by the people that are doing it at the highest level. So I'm trying my best to create an ecosystem. So Kevin Hart is not just the talent anymore. That's one layer, right? The talent got me in the door to be an investor. The investments got me in a place to build on opportunities that I thought that I would never have. I have a fast food plant-based restaurant. I have a tequila. I'm in the space of health and wellness. I have my plant-based protein to my vitamins, to my gummies. That's in Vita Hustle. Like, you have athleisure. That's in Fabletics. And then, like, these are all own entities. These aren't like ambassador roles, right?
How many employees do you have in that ecosystem?
Right now, my ecosystem, I'm probably somewhere around like 220, maybe. Like between, if I were to go through Hart House, Grand Cormino, Heartbeat Ventures, probably pushing around 220.
Because your life looks from the outside, anybody would look at it and say, man, that seems fun. And some of what I see in your life, because I'm way outside it obviously, is like, man, that seems like a lot of responsibility, a lot of pressure, a lot of people that he doesn't want to let down. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if his life is always fun. I don't know how he leads. It seems like he's got a lot on him.
Well, you have to have some type of passion for the thing that you're doing, right? Like, is it stressful? Does it become a lot of times? Of course, but that's a part of the journey. It's not going to be easy. It's not supposed to be easy. If it was, then everybody would do it. So I think the separation within the opportunity and individuals come from those that can take on the task. So delegating, organizing, building structure, all of that stuff, it comes from grasping the mindset that you can't be the one doing it all.
The Stanley Cup is where it belongs, near the quarter deck by Ben and Jerry's, near Rock Bar on Las Olas. Everyone knows it. It stays there. South Florida owns the Stanley Cup. Zazzlo's about to leave because he's very wanted by ESPN Radio, even though right now, last night, he said a bunch of things on, what is it, the show? Game Night?
Game Night, yeah.
Game Night. They
Great
called
show.
him, and he had things to say, and he doesn't remember any of them.
Nah, not really.
Before we bring in Nick Wright here and Tony Reale to carry us as Billy Gill Wild Willie Wednesday continues, Chris and Roy have arrived at the Elbow Room, the rightful home of the Stanley Cup, two-time defending champions. I'm not confident in either our audio or our video. Roy, take it away.
We are live here at the Elbow Room. Guys, why is everybody laughing?
Well, just because it froze immediately, and we will go back to you. Who's that behind you, Roy? Who is that? Okay, he's frozen too. Roy, we'll get back to you shortly if there's time. We will get a live. Thank you for the live
Keep
reporting.
up the good work.
Keep up the good work from the Elbow Room. We bring in Nick Wright now. Thank you. We will go back to you at some point.
That's a tough one.
So you sent him out there.
It is, yes.
And then...
Yes, I sent him out there. All right. Is it unfrozen? Roy, go ahead. Let's try again.
We have already seen Matthew Tkachuk, Evan Rodriguez, and Anton Lundell lift the cup from the balcony here. It is a wild scene as Chris Cody is jumping behind me.
Yeah,
I don't know who that white dude was that was behind me earlier with the green shirt, but it seemed like he was drunk.
Well, that narrows it down. The white dude in the green shirt who is drunk, that's not everyone there in the land of 1,000 Chris Codys. The trophy has been broken. It's been broken?
Not that I've seen yet.
Okay,
I
not
don't believe
good
it's broken
reporting.
yet.
No, it is broken. You're
Break
close.
that shit.
I just got here, Dan.
Only in two places.
I literally just got here, Dan.
Okay. All right, we'll come back to you in a second. We'll come back. See, go get near the trophy. They've broken it. The top of it's broken and the bottom of it is dented. Thank you for being on.
One of 12 Stanley Cups. Who cares?
Is it? Really?
Chris Cody, excellent work. You left behind all of the prep for Nick Wright. Let's go out to Nick Wright for real quick here. Well, not quick. It's never quick with Nick Wright. He will take over the proceedings here shortly, I would imagine. Nick, are you ready to go? Who are you talking to? You were in the preview, and now
I don't hear you guys. Now I do.
Okay.
Hi, Dan. How are you?
All
Good
right.
to see you.
All right.
When I couldn't hear, I was having to keep myself occupied. I was reading the latest glowing Pablo Torre profile in the New York Magazine. You guys signed a $50 million deal. I can't even get a front office sports article about it. And more legacy media being like, hey, this guy sure is nosy. It's really unbelievable. How are you?
So Pablo is featured in a very prestigious publication. I had not heard this.
New York Magazine. And as you could guess, it took 13 words before the Peabodys were mentioned. And so that was good. By the way, speaking of featured, I did think it was nice that Pablo because I didn't like Pablo and Bill feuding. I thought it was nice that he went on the pod with Bill and stood his ground, to his credit, didn't back down. And if people didn't hear it, we did a kind of super cut of it for him so they could hear the 90 minutes or 60 minutes Pablo and Bill spent hashing it out. Two podcast legends. Go play it for us if you could.
Murrow and Peabody's Peabody nominated Edward R. Murrow Award. Peabody Award nominated Peabody. Edward R. Murrow Peabody. Peabody Award nominated Peabody's Peabody. Edward R. Murrow Award. Murrow and Peabody.
That's Bill Simmons and Pablo Torre. Why didn't you like to see them fighting?
Well, here's the thing. I know that,
that's his
Dan.
catchphrase. Don't take the here's the thing. That's his transition is here's the thing. It's his pompous broadcasting bridge.
So I guess in theory I wouldn't have minded seeing them fighting, but I actually like both of those people. I know that you might be like, Nick, you like Pablo? I do like Pablo. I imagine I have the relationship with Pablo that Pablo has with Larsa Pippen, where like I don't have anything against him. I'm kind of fascinated by him. I don't totally understand the big deal, but there's no ill will. And Simmons is obviously a legend in the industry, and so I didn't want to see them fighting over Bill Belichick, so I was glad they squashed it.
You don't understand what big deal?
I don't understand why there has been, again, I'll just say what I said. This is really just a defense of the Le Batard Show. If you weren't watching your guys' show the day you announced your latest partnership with your friends and my friends at DraftKings, I don't know if anyone knows about it. Meanwhile, you could have been on an around-the-world 180-day cruise, and you are still, you're inundated with updates on, the world according to Garp via Pablo Torre. It's just a weird media diet as far as what people think is relevant and what's not. And I just thought you guys going out on your own doing a thing, like where's that profile? Where's Chris Cody was right about Connor McDavid? Where's that profile? Where's Roy basking in the glory of a 2-time champion in South Florida? Where's that profile? That's all. I'm just asking for a more, a kind of distribution of the glowing pieces. That's all. Maybe it's jealousy from me. Let me see what else I have to read here. This is the Washington Post. Let me see what this is.
Yeah, you got a big article there where you're wearing
that was
something
good.
nice.
Oh, look who's on the front of that.
Yeah, that's
Hold
you.
on. Oh, no,
Yeah.
that's the Capitals. Sorry, I thought it was the Panthers at first, but no, that's me. But that's
you.
fine. But it's not the New York Magazine, tell you that much. It's not the Atlantic.
Tony, do you have a defense of your boy Pablo Torre? Because
Nick Wright, Tony Reale here, my man.
Oh, it's Reale.
Yes, it is.
Oh, I didn't know you were here.
I'm right here, man.
Can I take it all back?
No.
Oh, my God. I've never talked
Nick,
to Reale.
Nick,
I'm so excited to talk to Reale.
I just
want
want
to
say,
think I'm an ass.
No, I think you are who you are, but I would say it's possible you're online a little too much. And this is advice I would impart. I mean, it's just a little bit too much. That's all. I mean, you're keeping up with the amount of mentions of people in certain publications.
Well, no, but this is egregious. Hold on.
Yeah.
What, Billy, put on here for me, please, and stop watching the television of another show here when you're in EP. Play for me again the sound that Nick played of the Bill Simmons podcast.
Murrow and Peabody's Peabody nominated Edward R. Murrow Award. Peabody
This
Award
is a good bit,
nominated
though.
Peabody.
I'll give
Edward
Nick
R.
credit for
Murrow,
this. This is a good bit.
Peabody Award nominated Peabody's Peabody and Edward R. Murrow Award. Murrow.
No, this is a good. That I give him 5 points for. Nick Wright +5. Ding, ding, ding.
Oh, wow!
Can we have it on the ding dings?
Can I break the fourth wall or whatever it's called? Can I have a moment of earnestness?
Yes, that's.
Because
I think
wanna
you've been
talk to
very
Tony
earnest about how much.
but kind earnestness.
Yeah.
Because I've wanted to talk to Tony Reale my entire life. And we've
not
only
doing this.
ever...
Yeah.
No, we are doing it. Gosh
Okay.
darn it.
All right.
We've only ever DM'd.
Yeah.
And I did a 10-minute...
No, it was beautiful.
Probably bad. It was probably bad... Hold on, let me just tell the audience what it was.
Yeah.
It was probably bad podcasting. A 10-minute segment.
It was a
that
beautiful
was
thing.
essentially a message in a bottle
It was.
to Reale.
And it was
That I was
received,
like,
and I responded
just
to
hope
you.
He sees it.
It was
and,
received.
Which he did. And so so it is really, I didn't know you were, I apologize, I've been running around this morning. I didn't know you were in studio right now.
Well, they needed
I
some
wouldn't have put you
positivity
in a
around
bad
here, so I've been kicking
No.
it up here, and we did it that way.
I saw you let someone dunk on you. That was nice.
Yeah.
But it's great to talk to you. It's an honor, and I hope to see you in New York sometime.
Yes,
It
and we'll
is.
do that. We'll do it the right way. But my point is, at some point, we can just all log off a little bit. That's all I want to impart
I agree,
to everybody.
but the problem, Tony, is I did log off, and then I picked up the New York Magazine, and I'm staring at Pablo again. I did log off. That's the problem. But again, I do this because it's fun and because,
Well, I've never heard Reale say something as unkind as I think
Whoa,
you
whoa, no,
are.
no,
I
this
think
is
you
not
are
unkind.
who you are.
This is.
I think you are who you are is the meanest thing I've ever heard Reale.
No.
Look, Nick Wright. Look, I admire Nick
What
Wright
are you
for
trying to do?
I admire Nick Wright for a lot of reasons, but he doesn't mind getting dirty. You live above the fray.
No, that was above the fray. I am who I am. I know who I am. And I think this is only a compliment. Knowing who you are is 95% of life.
But
and I know Nick knows who he is.
But it came
Absolutely.
right after Nick was embarrassed, saying Tony's going to think I'm an ass, and then you said you are who you are.
Okay, maybe there was a slight delay in my.
I think you are who you are. Is what?
All right. Well, if that's how it came out, I need some street cred. I need to be. Let me start a public feud then. I need some
exactly
street cred.
right.
Yeah.
People like media feuds.
Yeah,
people
no,
do. I don't
no.
understand.
I don't understand why people
like it.
I have no idea why people like
I don't
media
understand
feuds.
it either. It's a
It is.
very weird thing. It's actually, there's a weird, almost, if I had a little more time to parse this out, I could make a smarter point. Instead, I'll make the lower level point. It's a first cousin of the amount of people who don't really watch regular season NBA, but consume a ton of NBA gossip content podcasts. There are a lot of people who don't necessarily watch the sports talk shows, but really like when people involved in those shows appear to be feuding. I didn't have enough time to really put a fine point on it, but that is an odd thing that definitely exists.
I'll give you 2 points for that. I don't agree with the whole place that the NBA is in, where we overlook what actual basketball is, and we're just going to talk about feuds, or even worse, where somebody wants to play 3 months from now, 8 months from now, when we're in the middle of the NBA Finals. That, to me, is tiresome.
Yeah, what about, or feuding, or media
But just to go back
openly
to my
threatening
appreciation of humanity, I believe knowing who you are is 95%. That's self-fullness, right? And that's what I want to say to you, Nick, right now. You have a knowledge of who you are as a person, and I think that's wonderful.
First of all, that's touching, and I appreciate that. I can't imagine and I'll self-reveal this, Dan, what's going through Dan's mind, because 96 hours ago, I sat with Dan at a tequila bar in Miami and basically told him, I'm not even comfortable telling anyone how I feel about anything unless I've had a drink or two. So it's a weird dichotomy of I am incredibly open and honest under two circumstances. If I am on air, or if I've got a pop in me. But if I'm just regular day-to-day Nick, just riddled with angst and anxiety and just bottled up, which again is not really what you guys came here for. But I can't help but see.
Dan is salivating over this. He's thinking Around the Mourn right now. He wants to go Around the Mourn, which is a combo
he already
show
told me this.
of Mourning and Alonzo. He told you this because he thought this was a great idea. This is unbelievable.
Working on material with Nick Wright?
No, I told him the more general men who like their vulnerabilities, not the Around the Mourn idea of a show about grief and trivia about Alonzo Mourning. No, I wasn't discussing this with Nick Wright in a tequila bar 70 hours
I don't know. I mean, you knew reality was coming to town.
True. He was not. He didn't front run the idea. My point is, Dan. I already know Dan is fascinated by what I would call my foibles, what other would call my deep-seated insecurities.
But your willingness to publicly be anxious, I would say, I've talked with Tony about this. I don't look at Tony and see someone who's anxious. I think Tony Reale masks it very well. We talk about it on South Beach sessions, but I don't look at you, Nick, either, and see anxiety. Do you look at Nick? Do any of you see Nick performing and ever consider that there might be anxiety in there somewhere?
No,
he gives off total
I told you,
confidence.
'cause I'm comfortable on the air. I'm comfortable on the air. And I'm comfortable. Again, I don't have to get sloshed, but if I just need a little lubrication, a little mental lubrication, slow things down a bit, relax a bit. But that's not what people. I don't know what people want, but they probably don't want me to talk about that. They want me to talk about LeBron saying rings are overrated. Amen, brothers.
Okay.
Finally, somebody said it.
My apologies for being a little distracted. The Roy video keeps freezing with Chris.
Won a Stanley Cup yesterday. And here we are talking about how sad Nick Wright is.
I don't trust getting to the video. Billy, do you trust anything about this video at the Elbow Room?
But we should go to it anyway.
All right, Roy, give us whatever update you got from the Elbow Room, please.
Well, Nate Schmidt has just made it out to the street and decided to celebrate with all the fans over here, and they're jumping around right behind me. He's trying to make his way back into the elbow room.
So
Conor Verhaeghe and Sam Reinhart has poured beer all out of the cup and onto the fans from the balcony. That's the update from the elbow room. Back to you, Dan.
All right, thank you. We missed the big Nate Schmidt moment, but we almost had it. Instead, we were talking about Nick Wright's anxieties.
Okay, well, that's your guys' fault. That's bad producing. That's not my fault.
I'm not blaming you. I'm not blaming you.
I'm so happy for Roy. There was a part of me, true story, when this was the Stanley Cup final again, I was like, I don't know, man. Florida won last year, and it certainly matters more to Edmonton and Canada as a whole than to South Florida. So I was like, I think I'll probably root for Edmonton. I didn't have a bet on it either way. But then I was like, no, I want the Le Batard guys, most notably Roy, to be able to revel in this mini dynasty. So I'm really happy you guys won. I'm shocked by it, but I'm really happy you guys won. So that's great. I mean, that's really cool.
Why the mini?
Well, isn't just back-to-back just a mini dynasty? Like, don't you have the...
It's what the Chiefs have done, right?
Chiefs won 3 out of 5.
Yeah, but back-to-back was the best run.
Right, so, yeah, but I think if the Chiefs... So let me ask you this. Did John Elway's Broncos have a dynasty? I don't think so. Mini dynasty, right?
Does having gone to the Stanley Cup the year before winning back-to-back create a dynasty? Because that's what the Panthers have done here. They've been to 3 straight and won 2 of them.
So isn't that exactly what the Dolphins did? Mm-hmm. Wasn't it that exact thing? Didn't they lose a Super Bowl and then go back-to-back?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that adds to it. I'm not trying to parse dynasty, mini dynasty.
Yes,
My
you are.
point is,
Yes, you are. Yeah, you did it.
Not.
Don't take it back now. You put a mini in front of it. I found it disrespectful. I asked you, I questioned you, and then you
rooting
start
for the Oilers and not a dynasty.
Yeah, and then when they push you on your Chiefs, you're like 3-5, 3-5, 3-5 with the match.
Why Greg Cody hates mini.
Well, I mean, again, the Chiefs thing is really a 7-year run, 7 Final Fours, 5 Super Bowl appearances, 3 championships. The Cats aren't quite approaching that stature yet. But that's that to me is a dynasty. Maybe you guys are. Again, but in hockey, didn't a team win like 7 in a row once? The Montreal Canadiens or something? So I don't know. I don't know the rules in hockey.
Well, will you cover
sports.
it? Because I see all over ESPN, it's all NBA all the time. Will Fox cover it? How will you talk about this in your many venues?
We have an odd rule on First Things First, which is we only talk about hockey if it looks like another sport. So, like, if a puck's flying through the air and a guy slaps at it, kind of looks like baseball, we put it in. If there's a fight that looks like boxing, we put it in. And so we rarely do hockey when it looks like hockey, oddly. That is a rule. Kevin Wild has established it. I'm sorry, it's just the rules. You can't cover everything, boys.
But you say it's just the rules. It's your show. It's your show. What do you mean it's just the rules?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. That I'm at least a third of the show. However, we all have roles on the show, right? Reality can definitely relate to this. Mm-hmm. So Brew is kind of like the conscience and the elder statesman of the show. I am the opinionist, as they say, more so. Some people throw around hot take artist. And Wilds is the self-appointed leader of the show who kind of guides our topic selection. And so at times I'll fight for something. Will I fight to do a Tkachuk McDavid topic? Probably not.
I want to get Zazzlo's thoughts on the Panthers before he has to leave to do big things for ESPN Radio. But I argued when Greg Cody had 2 pinky rings and no wedding ring that he was signaling to all that he is open for business. Can you tell me what you've got going on with your pinky ring situation?
No, I still have the wedding ring. Not only do I have the wedding ring, hold on. The wedding ring, you take the wedding ring off, bam, tattoo. So I'm totally covered there. What I'm signaling to the audience with the pinky ring is, you want to make a bet? It's just like a symbol, like I'm open to gamble. Like you walk down the street and someone, it's like how they said Padilla needed to be wearing his U.S. Senator pen because then everybody knows. It's the same type of thing with gamblers. You see someone with a yellow gold diamond pinky ring, they're like, they'll probably do a parlay here or there.
That's the issue.
So it just, Yeah.
That's the issue because Greg Cody has a regular set of rings, right? And we say he's open for business. Couple of rings on the pinky, no wedding ring means you're a player.
I can't believe how fluent Nick just did that because I want to put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. Is the pinky ring the international symbol for you want to make a bet? Because
where I come from, it's something totally different. Oh yeah, where I come from, it's like I can put a body somewhere.
Really?
Right?
Yeah, but
People
yes,
disappear.
the reality,
Yeah,
we
can make
come
somebody
from
disappear.
similar areas.
Okay.
This is from my my now passed Italian grandfather's ring that was passed down to my dad and passed down to me. But you know what a lot of people did? You know what got a lot of people in the grave where their body had to be disposed of? Making a bet.
The gambling, yeah.
Like that's the beginning of that story a lot. Is they made a bet. Yeah. And then they ended up and a different guy with a different pinky ring had to go dispose of it.
Yeah.
But it started with the bet.
Yeah. Zazzlo, before you get out of here, do you want to say anything to Roy? Do you want to give us any last analysis? Your beloved Panthers, a giant family moment. Today is one of the happiest days of your life, is it not?
Yeah. Can Roy hear us? He can hear us right now, right?
We're going to go to Roy in a second, but as we do that, it is one of the happiest days of your life, correct?
Last night our favorite little hockey team gave us a forever night. That's what sports are, right? That it was a forever night that for the second year in a row, I'm so happy I got to spend it with my boys, with my father, 3 generations of Zazzlos. For only the second time ever, we got to experience that together. So it was an all-time night, and I know Roy can hear us now. My son is somewhere there, Roy. He's 16. He's somewhere there at Elbow Room. Just, I don't know. I told him to look for you. I'm hoping.
How did you tell him to look for him?
Well, I said, find Roy. He's black. And so I'm hoping that he will find you.
I mean, it's really helpful
it
there.
shouldn't be hard.
Yeah, I
In
mean,
that crowd in particular.
let's be honest. And I don't want him to be walking around with tequila shots. So just keep an eye out.
Roy, how many black people are there?
What are we doing here?
I think I counted about 5. Maybe
Okay,
6.
5 or 6.
Okay.
All right, so maybe, we haven't found Zazzlo's son yet, but Zazzlo, here, bring out the emotional side of Roy, because he's being reporter guy. But Roy, did you hear Nick Wright? Who is that up there? What are they doing? Who are they throwing beer on? Who are those players?
Sam Reinhart is throwing beer. Matthew Tkachuk is also throwing beer. Chris Cody is jumping around right now.
Yes.
And
What
Nate
is he
Smith
doing?
is lifting the cup
Said
right
he'd
now.
be perfect there. Said we needed to send him out there. It was important to send him out there. That's what he said. Roy, tell me emotionally how you feel. Nick Wright just got done saying he was happier for you than he was for anybody around here.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, Nick. And yes, I am actually happy because I've been following this team for 31 years and covering for over a decade now. And to see this sustainable quality of hockey, like it's beyond words right now for me. Back-to-back championships, 3 straight Stanley Cup finals. They're here to stay right now, and I'm incredibly happy.
Bennett slapped my hand.
That's excellent contribution from you. You said you'd kill it out there, and you are over-delivering after
Shadowboxing in the
over-promising. Yes, he's given us nothing from out there. Didn't tell Billy anything about what was needed for the rest of the show, but is shadowboxing as a champion. Chris Cody doesn't even hear what we're doing. He's not connected to what we're doing in any way. Roy, he's not helping you.
He's getting love, though.
He's not helping you.
He's adding to the overall mood.
He's not helping you, Roy. He's not doing his job. He is a child of privilege and nepotism.
Look at this.
You got that right. You're absolutely right.
Okay, thank you. All right, excellent work. We will check back in with you. But Zazzlo, do you have anything to say to Roy before you go here for the day?
We did it, Roy. We did it, man. And you're welcome. I came home from my vacation. The Panthers won 4 out of 5.
Okay,
so
again about you.
there you
Okay,
go.
excellent coverage, great punctuation. You made a sacrifice for your team. You ended your vacation early, and that's why they won the cup.
You heard about that.
Please leave. Please get out of here. That was not useful.
Bye, Zaz. Congrats.
It was not helpful.
Minor penalty, 2 minutes for adding nothing.
Season's over.
Added confidence. He brought confidence.
He was very confident today. That's right. He's a champion. Please leave. I don't want to hear from you anymore.
Can I defend Chris Cody's contribution to the show?
Sure.
If I may?
Sure.
So he did help the show in 2 ways. One is he may or may not have been the person that made that Pablo Torre supercut. But more importantly, I texted him an hour ago, is Zazzlo wearing a wig?
What are you talking about?
Excuse me?
No, what are you talking about? What?
And
What?
he I texted him that because I was so disturbed by what I was seeing. And Chris Cody wrote back to me, and I'll read it exactly.
I don't.
No, that's how he always looks.
Yeah, that's.
And I was like, wow. Well, I probably shouldn't mention that while he's in the room, but now that he's left, I feel comfortable. That's an odd look on anybody, to be honest. Even you know what? You could put Tony Reali's kindness to the test and see if he can say something nice about that, because that was odd.
Well, please don't judge others' looks. Nick, you don't like it when people do this to you. You don't like people who undermine your credibility because they say whatever about how you look. Zazzlo's a lovely human being who's very credible, and I don't know why you'd make fun of anything about him.
Confidence today was...
His confidence was off the charts today. He was really good. You think that's a bad look? You're comfortable judging how other people look?
Well, here's what I know this is the lead up to you guys throwing your favorite picture of all time. When my nose casts a shadow on my teeth.
No.
I would argue this, however. I would argue that judging someone's facial hair, grown out hair, not balding, but grown out hair or clothes is fair because those are choices. Judging someone because they have a arachnid-style nose is just cruel.
I wasn't going to put up any picture there, but let me see the rules again. I'd like to know the rules in 2025 that Nick says is okay for making fun of people. It's facial hair, it's clothes.
Well, it's anything that you're choosing. So, like, if you say, Nick, your hair looks ridiculous, grown out, that to me is fair because I'm choosing it. If they're like, Nick, you should, there it is. See, there you go. So if you look at this picture and you're like, your beard should have been shaved, fair. If you look at it and say your hair's too long, fair. If you look at it and you're like, hey, your nose is casting a shadow on your teeth, unfair. I didn't choose that.
But it's your hair I'm making fun of there. It's not anything else. I'm only making fun of it.
And that guy is like, who's this freak show over here? Not him. He's saying that about me. And so, yeah, exactly. And like, if you're like, hey, Nick, you have bags under your eyes is a close call because did I choose not to get enough sleep or is that genetics? And so what I'm saying is if you think someone has, if they're bald, you can't make fun of that. Nothing to do about it. If you're like, that's a terrible hairstyle.
No, but wait, what if you're, I don't know what you think is happening there, but, well, I don't even know how to discuss this publicly because Zazzlo's never brought this up on the show before. But if you're somebody who wears a hairpiece, then you are making fun of them being bald if they're covering up that insecurity with a hairpiece. We've not talked to Zazzlo about it.
You could just get better ones.
Also a choice.
Bad one.
Okay, so that's the line now? That's the line on, okay, you can get, so your choice is a poor one, but bald, you're saying bald, you don't have a choice on whether or not you're bald, right? Again, I'm assuming that's a hairpiece. That's not something I've ever discussed with Zaz. That's none of my business.
I thought this was real. I had no idea.
You're the first one to say anything about this, actually, Nick. You're the first one who's ever brought this up on the show. In the hit, have you guys ever heard anyone like?
He's had a hat on the last couple appearances.
We don't talk to him about this. So you're doing something now. We've known Zazzlo for 20 years, and we've never done to him what you just did.
Well, it sounds like I'm his best friend on the staff then, because somebody needed to say something. Because my God.
He's awfully comfortable with this, Tony. When you're the king of positivity of making people feel good, Nick Wright
it's incredibly well researched, though, and I love the way he made his argument. I'll give him that. As far as hair is concerned, we go to the dentist, we get our teeth cleaned up and veneers put on, and sometimes, I have no problem with someone saying I want to look differently with my head as much as they want to look differently with their teeth.
And also, reality is probably. I don't know if he's either the best or the worst person to ask about this because he's been one of the 3 or 4 best-looking men on sports TV for 20 years. Reality's always been handsome.
There's a list for this, too? You got to get offline.
What do you mean offline? Reality, I'm not as online as you think, man. This is just how my brain works. Like, lists are Oh, is that
Whoa!
Zazzlo?
Oh no!
Delete that.
What?
No, delete
that. Oh my God!
The hat
Thank
is
God.
shielding us from the truth.
It's like seeing a mascot with his head off.
Steph Barber. Steph Barber.
That is shocking. He doesn't know where. Guys, you got to get that off. That's like illegal in this. You can't be doing that to him. He doesn't know he's on camera.
Two-party state.
You can't do what we just did there. That's offensive. He's arguing with
Nick
somebody.
shaved him into a haircut.
That's, but in all
That's
seriousness,
a good look.
Nick, in all seriousness, because we've got Reali around here, and Reali is someone I've loved for a quarter century. Tell the man how it is you feel about him and why it is.
Oh,
that
we're
you,
not doing this.
Why
We're
you?
not, we're
no,
not,
yeah,
no,
listen.
nobody
Why
wants
you?
to hear this.
Why
He just did 10 minutes on radio last month on me. That was enough.
Why he respects who you are? Look. He's an expert in this game. He knows who's good at this stuff, and when he gives his respect, it's only because people deserve it. And so allow Nick Wright to give you some flowers here because he's meeting you and he admires you.
I've received.
It's true. The very end. Now you know anything I said about Tony Reali in theory up until a few weeks ago could have been selfish. Like I'm trying to butter him up to get on the show, but now it's totally. You have no worry about that. Here is what I think. I think that the hardest thing in sports, one of the hardest things in sports media is going from someone who was not taken seriously to someone who was taken seriously. And when your introduction to the audience is literally called Stat Boy, they don't even tell you your name, and it's with these two icons of the field, and then you are asked to take over for one of the sharpest, smartest, in my opinion, most talented people in the field in Kellerman, and not only do you transition to where you are, you're the host of Around the Horn to Tony Reali's show is Around the Horn, and then transition from that to, hey, who is the actual, real heartbeat of our industry when it comes to kindness, audience interaction with those long threads you did of hey, let's talk about it, and those things. And as a non-religious person myself, someone who was hey, I'm proudly religious and I'm going to wear the ash on my head and I'm going to share the traumas of my family with you. It's a remarkable thing to do. And the fact that you were able to do it with, you probably talked for 4.5 minutes a day on the air. It's a 30-minute show. I can't do anything in less than 5-minute chunks. And so I just think it's remarkable. And it's just very, very rare to go through all those steps and to do it without accumulating a single enemy, and where everyone that I've ever met that I'm oh, do you know Tony? They're not only do I know Tony, might be the greatest human being ever.
Right.
And so that's it.
That was beautiful and heartful, and I have come to a place where that is a wonderful thing to have your friends or people in the industry or people that you want to be friends with say nice things about you is an incredible thing. I love everything about that. We've just spent more time on me than we did the Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers.
Will you receive what he's saying? Look, heartbeat of our industry. Just know that someone's not preparing something, sees you, and that's what they think. I'll let it go after that. Be comfortable with receiving the compliments you're receiving.
With that said, I do also think that if you and I changed, if everything about us were the same, except you looked like me and I looked like you, I feel like I'd probably at this point be Bob Iger.
Yeah, you'd be more successful. You would be.
No doubt about it.
Yes, no doubt about it.
No doubt about it. And I also think, hottest take, and then I'll shut up. I also think part of Tony's undying positivity and general affect is because when you walk around gorgeous your whole life, you feel different.
Even remotely
and I feel like when you walk around, people are oh, Nick, you're a little mean sometimes. No shit. Yeah, you develop a thicker skin. It happens. Yeah,
Roy is now just taking pictures at the elbow room. Yeah. Chris is just taking pictures at the elbow room. Roy, who are you taking pictures with out there like you're a champion, sir? Let us bask in the ambient noise, please.
Well, right now the fans have chanted "Go to the ocean," but Sam Reinhart put the kibosh on that one. So I don't think the Stanley Cup is going to the ocean right now. Chris somehow got in.
Oh, great. There we go.
Yeah, but that's not helping us.
Additive. It is helping us. We can zoom
he doesn't
in
have
there.
a camera.
He's going to.
That doesn't help us. He's going to just do on his own
if
private social
stuff. If he can get to the
stuff.
balcony and we can zoom in, Chris on the balcony, that's additive.
How did he get in, Roy? Why did you try to get in? Are they not letting people in with a camera or what?
No, I didn't try to get in. Apparently, Chris has a connection here at the elbow room, so
of course he does.
It's pretty much all for himself.
This is about to be the crowning day in the Cody family.
Billy,
Both
can you
Greg's
give me
finest hour
Billy?
and
Can you
Chris's.
give me an appraisal on Chris Cody's job today as the executive producer of our show?
He's done the best he can.
Has he?
He said Bennett slapped my hand. That was pretty great.
Has he? He went out there and he left all his duties behind so that he could go there and be pink with the rest of those pink people.
That's Chris. Come on.
Okay, excellent work. Nick, can you give me your best minute on the NBA finals before you get out of here?
A minute, Dan?
I got all right. I got 2 minutes and 15 seconds. Go.
Okay, no. So my best minute is this: is the 2025 Oklahoma City Thunder are the first team since the mid-90s Bulls that can go on these 14-2 runs based purely on steals and defense. And then when you add to it the fact that they have these waves and waves of guys, and they very smartly, similarly to the Legion of Boom Seahawks, are like, we're going to play this level of physical from the opening whistle, and we're going to put the onus on the refs. Are you going to call 7 fouls in the first 5 minutes, or are we just going to set the tempo? They are an incredibly difficult team to beat. They're going to be deserved champions, all-time great single season. With that said, 4 of the last 5 teams to win the title, the day after they won the title, everyone's been like, well, damn, I guess they're going to win a bunch of these titles, and none of them have made it out of round 2 the next year. So I'm not ready to talk dynasty with them. I am ready to say all-time great single season, and I'm also ready to say the Pacers could have had one of the greatest upsets in NBA history, and the end of third quarter of Game 4 will haunt Pacer fans for the rest of their lives. Sorry, but it's true.
How can we look back at the Kawhi Leonard, Paul George of what it is that Oklahoma City benefited from just going all draft picks?
Well, the thing on that is, Oklahoma City bottomed out for 2 years, which is the maximum that I think is acceptable, but they also had to nail the picks. They had to prioritize getting Shea in that deal when nobody thought he was a future MVP, and they had to take Jalen Williams with the 12th pick. They had to trade up from 4 to 2 to get Chet. So they had to actually be very smart about it as well. They also took advantage of the Clippers, which is nice.
We've got to let him go, but What's Right with Nick Wright is something that you need to check out. He is doing it with his son. Man. It is a personal project. It is an intimate project, and it is a very cool thing. What's Right with Nick Wright is part of everything that Colin Cowherd has going on with The Volume. Nick, it is nice to see you again. We will talk to you soon. Thank you, sir.
Congrats, Panthers. See you guys.
Man, he's good.